10 a.m. Good morning, live from Titans House in Germantown. I'm Lucas Panzico. With the number 4 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate, who caught 121 passes for 1,872 yards and 14 touchdowns over 3 seasons at Ohio State. The Titans had more to do before the night was over, trading back into the first round, sending picks 35, 66, and 101 to Buffalo in exchange for 31, 69, and 165. With the 31st pick, the Titans selected Auburn edge rusher Keldrick Falk. In other first-round notables, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson went in the top 15 to the Rams. The New York Jets came away with 3 first-rounders, and both Tennessee cornerbacks in Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood fell out of the first round. Day 2 of the draft gets underway at 6 p.m. with the second and third rounds today. You can hear Titans radio coverage right here on The Zone. The Titans' next pick will be in the third round at 69 overall. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTM.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you here for the next 3 hours. Lucas is here. Ross is here with Robert on assignment for the draft. Kirby scurrying around, taping things to walls because we are on remote today in Germantown at Titans House. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to chime in, you drafted 2 players last night. I'm sure you have thoughts. If you would like to let those thoughts be known, you can do that via the phones, or you can do that via the F&M Bank chat. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Carnell Tate at number 4 overall. An upset. I don't think anybody had that. By percentage chance, it was, I think, the least likely of any of the possibilities that had odds, betting odds for the Titans yesterday, and then they traded back up into the first round late, and they take Keldrick Falk, who is a very toolsy, I guess he is being described as, project edge rusher, who Mike Borgonzi described as a very good fit for the Titans defense. So, how do we feel? How's morale?
Well, it was an interesting night.
Sure.
They kept it interesting. It was not exactly status quo. I don't think we expected Tate at 4. I don't think we expected a trade back into the first round with Buffalo to get back in at 31. Early indications, early returns from Titans fans sounds incredibly mixed, but I guess that was always going to happen if they were going to draft anybody other than Jeremiah Love, who the fan base seemed to box themselves into heading into last night.
What happened to my smokescreen? What is this Arizona and Love? It's only a smokescreen. Nothing to see here. Keep it moving. It's suspiciously late in the process. What happened to my smokescreen?
Yeah, apparently they loved Love indeed. Okay. So Arizona just decided the best path forward was collect all the running backs, and that's what they're doing. I was happy with it. I was excited about it. Okay. Obviously, Carnell Tate is the best player on the board with Jeremiah Love off the board, right? The Titans could have drafted Sonny Styles. They could have drafted Arvell Reese.
Ooh.
They chose not to because they believed Carnell Tate to be the better player, and that's an instant impact help addition for Cam Ward.
They believed him to be the best wide receiver. I don't know that they said anything specifically about being the best player, and I think that's where the discussion starts. Did they, in fact, take the best player available? Does it matter? Does it really matter at the end of the day? I mean, that's a fair discussion to have, because I think for my part of things, and you're right, it was unexpected. I think it was Kaharski made the joke in the Titans media room last night, like at least we're all on even footing, because if you pre-wrote, you didn't have Carnell Tate, right? You wrote something for Styles, you wrote something for Reese, you wrote something for Love, of course, and that's not what happened, because the Arizona Cardinals, and it was described as a very, strong voice in the room for the Arizona Cardinals, which may or may not have been ownership. I think it's fair to make an assumption that it would be a significantly powerful voice in the room to basically upend everything we knew about the draft until the week of the draft. And so Arizona takes the most explosive offensive player. Titans fans who had their heart set on him, I'm sure, are disappointed in the immediate, and then you get the second best offensive player in the draft. You may have had him graded higher depending on which draft analyst you follow most. You may have had him graded higher at receiver than you had Mendoza at quarterback. There was some discussion to be had there, but I don't think anybody had the way that went down with Love and with Carnell Tate being the immediate follow-up, because Robert Saleh, as the Titans head coach here, you thought, well, surely, with one of these stud defenders on the board, who's probably a better player at their respective position than Carnell Tate is, or has a higher ceiling than Carnell Tate does at wide receiver, as the other two do at off-ball linebacker or edge, depending on where you see Arvell Reese. I think it's a fair thing to question whether they did, in fact, take the best player available.
At the end of the day, assuming let's say they're both successful NFL players, Jeremiah Love and Carnell Tate,
sure,
who would be more likely to have a more positive impact around Cam Ward and on Cam Ward? The receiver or the running back?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably say the running back.
I would tend to say the receiver.
Why?
I just think that is something that, for a team that already has two running backs in place that you've seen a sample size of, that you feel can play, that if you have a sufficient run blocking game, you can run the football with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, assuming Tyjae's health.
You're assuming a lot about a team that didn't do any of these things very well.
I just think a wide receiver to put in there, collecting with Calvin Ridley and Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot, will do more to open things up for Cam Ward than a run game, or a running back, I should say, into a running back room that already has some options that we've seen a sample size of, that when things are working, Tony Pollard can run the football. Yes, Jeremiah Love could take that to the next level, but Carnell Tate brings the Titans something that they most certainly did not have, and that's some wide receiver depth and options at wide receiver.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but conventional wisdom would tell you the balance of the run game with the best possible run game and the idea of the best possible running back with an offensive line that doesn't do any of those things well, because we don't know who's going to play on the offensive line just yet, right? We still have a huge unknown, day 2, day 3 still ahead of us. So I think in principle, if you're talking about this specific situation and not in a vacuum, you could very easily make the argument that a running back, the way that so many Titans fans did make the argument for a running back, would take the most amount of pressure off the quarterback, who doesn't need to be dropping back 35-plus times a game.
Right, but you can manufacture a run game with Jeremiah Love not on your roster, right? Like, I feel like that sort of support.
I mean, you did in the last third of the season.
Sure. Like, that sort of support for Cam in the run game can still be there, even if Jeremiah Love is not on the roster. They have to address the interior of the offensive line. That was going to be the case whether or not they drafted Jeremiah Love. So, yes, of course, it's a given that you can't have Cam Ward dropping back like he was, especially for the first 3 quarters of his rookie year.
Okay, but we're not just talking about a wide receiver here. We're talking about the second highest drafted player in the franchise's history at the position.
At the position, yes.
At the position.
Oh, for sure. Like, Carnell Tate has to come in and hit. Carnell Tate has to come in and show he's a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
Okay, but does he come in and hit, or does he come in and be Julio Jones or Fred Warner if you're Sonny Styles, or Micah Parsons if you're Arvell Reese? Like, the highest levels of the comparisons when you're talking about the value of the 4th overall pick. Now, we asked them about trade back potential, and Mike Borgonzi kind of, preferred, as he usually does, to keep those things close to the vest as far as who might have been calling and what might have been on the table. Clearly it wasn't sufficient enough, and clearly they felt that Tate was high enough on their board. I'm not saying that any of this is wrong. I just think that there's some questions here that deserve follow-ups about, okay, how do they view this thing moving forward? How does this set the table now moving forward for the final 2 days of the draft here, as we see in what possible ways they can support Cam Ward? For me personally, I like the trade back up for Falk at the very ass end of the first round more than I like the idea of just straight up taking Tate at 4. And those things could be just about opportunity cost. The way that we talked about with Tavondre Sweat doesn't mean that those two players, he's the safest pick, Carnell Tate. He's the safest pick by a mile. And that's fine for an organization that hasn't done, you don't have any sure things in the draft, but if you're going to try and get as close to, okay, this is a player that can start almost immediately, that is going to immediately raise the talent floor of our room, we've drafted him in a spot that would indicate we think he's a wide receiver one. Nobody else seems to think that about the player. That's something that he's going to have to earn and establish throughout the course of his career.
So how do you know nobody else thinks that about Carnell Tate?
What?
That he's a wide receiver one.
Chiefs wanted him.
Entire conversation around him is, oh, he's doing all of this because he's next to Jeremiah Smith. Like, I literally had one of my Ohio State buddies text me and say, I've never seen him as a wide receiver one.
Sure, but like, how do you know that NFL teams did not see him as a wide receiver one?
No, the vast majority of the commentary around Carnell Tate
I'm talking
been,
about things that matter, though, like opinions that matter.
Sure, and
this.
you just realize throughout the course of the week how much the people who have opinions that matter pay attention to the external conversation. I'm saying the dialogue around him, from all the things that we heard about him externally, outside of teams and what they have on their board, was that this is not the highest talent ceiling player at the position. That was Jordan Tyson. You agree?
Yeah, but injuries obviously are a question mark there. Look, Brett Veach stepped up to the podium and said that once Carnell Tate was off the board, it solidified the decision for the Chiefs to take Mansour Delane 2 picks later at 6. We had Daniel Jeremiah on the show not that long ago, 2 weeks ago, saying he's surprised Carnell Tate's not being talked about as the number 2 overall pick.
Sure.
Hell, we had basically a whole radio show when we were live at ML Rose a couple weeks ago, borderline admonishing Titans fans for saying they wouldn't be happy with Carnell Tate at 4.
Yep.
So I do think
I'm not admonishing anybody. I'm just saying
I know,
they take the best player available.
I do think you're trying to kind of do well. I got to push back on it.
Well, yeah, I need a little juice here.
Yeah,
it's not that it's not that dynamic of a thing.
Yeah.
They just took this wide receiver who didn't have much to say after the fact. It's like, all right.
Yeah. So I get you're doing a thing. It's not very genuine from you.
I got 3 hours of radio.
But again, they did end up doing the most interesting thing they could have done from an expectation standpoint of what we thought they were going to do. They drafted Carnell Tate at 4.
No, the most interesting thing they could have done is take the running back.
Take the guy that we just were saying they were going to take all year rather than.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That is the thing that the fan base seemed to be the most interested in.
But they didn't have the opportunity to take the running back.
Okay, so
he wasn't on the board.
Sure.
So.
I'm just saying it's not the most interesting thing that could have happened. They could have taken the running back. 615-737-104. Are you happy about it, Titans fan? You buying your Carnell Tate jersey?
I was pumped about, yes, get Cam Ward the help now. Let's go get it now.
Look at him. He's gleeful.
No,
he's
Ross
gleeful
Ross looked at me and said, I'm disappointed.
I did that.
Lucas came in here and tried to sell me on the wide receiver that's not the highest ceiling wide receiver in the draft. So I don't know.
Again.
You two are the Titans fans here. I'm asking you.
I think saying Jordan Tyson, yes, people believe Jordan Tyson could be the highest ceiling wide receiver in this draft. Could be. We have talked about the line of wide receivers out of Ohio State under Brian Hartline. Mm-hmm. That line's running out. It hasn't not worked yet. Jury's still out a little bit on Marvin Harrison Jr., but it has not worked yet. So that is one trend that I am very, very happy to hop onto before it ends next year with Jeremiah Smith.
Sure. He is, where do you think among these venerable Ohio State wide receivers, where do you think he ranks all-time in receptions?
Oh, he was surrounded by Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, probably
18th.
Yeah. How many receivers are we talking about?
We're talking about Ohio State wide receivers in the program history.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
program history.
Yeah, there's a lot of great players here. But again, talking about where these guys project as far as who their peers are, Jeremiah Smith in future drafts. Obviously, we've talked a great deal about Marvin Harrison Jr. He was 26th in touchdowns at Ohio State in their program's history at the wide receiver position. So we'll see what he becomes. He feels very safe. That's fine for a team that hasn't made a ton of good decisions in the draft, that's put them in this situation where they constantly had to dig out. I'm fine with safe.
Is it safe?
Yeah.
That's the safe pick?
Yes.
Is any pick safe?
It's as safe as any of those picks felt. Because Arvell Reese, it feels safer than Arvell Reese, right? Arvell Reese is a player.
Developmental.
Without a specific position coming in where people have projected him at the edge. People have projected him at off-ball linebacker. He's going to have to come in and start somewhere first. Where do you need him most? But at least there's going to be more of a learning curve. This is as well-rounded a wide receiver as there was in the draft class, right?
Tate?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
As well-rounded a wide receiver as there is in the draft class. You couldn't say that about Arvell Reese. Your conversation around Styles was, highly productive college football player, but a ceiling that we have no idea, right? He jumps higher than Calvin Johnson. He runs faster than anybody you've ever seen. Like, not just the workout warrior part of it, but also the production, and it gets your imagination going about what can this player be beyond what he's been. That's more variance than Tate, who's a very productive college football player, who, again, may or may not, we don't know what he's going to be in his pro career, but may or may not have the highest talent ceiling. But if it's just a draft where we're talking about just take good football players, they took a good football player. That feels safe.
Yeah, like they weren't going to come away with a football player that you just said, oh, no. Oh, what a disaster. At the number 4 overall pick with the options they had on the board.
Yeah.
Arvell Reese can be a good player. Sonny Styles can be a good player.
You seem to feel defensive about the way that I'm talking about this wide receiver, when in reality, like, I see both sides of the conversation. I'm just trying to get a gauge as to how the fan base feels about it.
Yeah, I guess you're just not making, like, a point is what I'm curious about.
They took him, and he's here, and we'll see if it helps.
Okay. Somebody urinating your Cheerios this morning?
I'm tired.
Hit by that hit workout. A punch in the face by it.
But we could talk about ceilings. Nothing raises the ceiling of a team more than putting a young quarterback in a position to succeed and that young quarterback taking that leap, right? Like, big picture, nothing raises the ceiling of your team more than knowing you have the quarterback and accelerating his development. And then, yes, you have to address the things around him in the offensive line, and you have to address the defense. So I am on board with doing the thing that helps Cam Ward raise that ceiling and give him those options of a good route runner, a player with sure hands, and another option outside of Calvin Ridley, who is coming off injury questions, and Wan'Dale Robinson, who's coming in with big money to play slot.
We talked a lot about the wide receiver. They did take another player in the first round, Keldrick Falk out of Auburn, the edge defender. And again, production is the question around him, especially given the size. He looks, Mike Borgonzi, in fact, Zach, who is producing the show today from the studio, do you have Mike Borgonzi's opening statement, Titans general manager, about the 2 first-round picks that they made last night? Okay, he will have it in 10 seconds. So we will hear from Mike Borgonzi, because the Keldrick Falk comparison and the way that he talked about it being in Robert Saleh's defense was the thing that caught my attention as far as what they project that player to be beyond what he was able to do at Auburn, right? Because he only had 2 sacks last year. Now you can tell me, okay, there's other ways in which that player was productive. He's very effective against the run. He may not be at coming out. None of them are finished products, so we have no idea what they'll be with proper NFL coaching and things of that nature. But production is the biggest question about Keldrick Falk. Apparently high character player, which has been talked about a great deal.
He's a projection, for sure.
But he is for sure a projection. This is Mike Borgonzi last night meeting with the media.
About the 2 guys we added here tonight, Carnell, Tate, we thought he was the best receiver in the draft. And then coming back up and getting Keldrick Falk, who, really fits his defense. I mean, long, can play outside, inside. Looking back to some of Saleh's defenses too, it reminded me a little bit of Armstead when he had him there in San Francisco. Really excited about adding these 2 guys here tonight. Great character guys too.
So that is Mike Borgonzi, and the comparison that he said he had when watching Keldrick Falk on tape at Auburn was Eric Armstead. Now, Eric Armstead is a little bit bigger. He's 6'7", 290 pounds. Was most recently in Jacksonville. His rookie season, looking at his rookie season in San Francisco, which I guess would have been with, when did Robert Saleh take over as the defensive coordinator there? I don't have those years off the top of my head. But either way, San Francisco in his rookie season, Eric Armstead, 2 sacks, played all 16 games, only started 1. Had a total of 19 tackles, 10 quarterback hits. So was a replacement level player, a rotational player, even though they took him high in the draft. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get involved. What are your thoughts on the Titans' 2 first-round picks that they made last night here on the show? We'd be happy to take those phone calls throughout the course of the day. We will also talk more about who these players are and what are reasonable expectations. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Ooh, we are at Titan's house in Germantown. Does that mean Hattie B's Hot Chicken is going to be at Titan's house?
I don't know. They are here
last
often.
Time, that we were here, no?
Usually they are here when
Okay.
we are here. But, yeah, we're hanging out in Germantown.
Well, I hope so. That'd make today even better. Happy Friday to all of you who celebrate. Hope you enjoyed the first round of the NFL Draft. You got 2 first-round picks in Carnell Tate and Keldrick Falk. So, nobody expected you to take Carnell Tate, especially not Carnell Tate, who spoke last night to the media via Zoom. Both players were at the draft, which was fortunate, so we got a pretty quick turnaround being able to talk to them on a very special night for both of them and everybody else involved who got drafted last night.
They'll both be on 3HL later today as well.
Oh, great. Okay. Here?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Is
Here.
3HL here?
Yeah, I think in the 4 o'clock hour.
Okay. I don't know if they're in person. I just know
Okay.
they will be joining 3HL.
No, that'll be in
Okay.
person.
Great. Very good. Ross very confident. Lucas seems scared. I think that it was surprising to hear Carnell Tate also be surprised that he did not think he was going to go as high as 4 overall. This was the new Titans wide receiver last night.
Carnell, did you have any sense that you would go this early to the Titans leading up?
I knew there was a thought, but I didn't have any idea that I was going to go this early.
Okay, so a man of few words, Carnell Tate. That was his longest answer of the evening.
All ball.
All ball, sure. Don't draft him for the quotes. You draft him for the football. But Carnell Tate, so he says that there was a thought that he could land with the Titans. But what he seemed, and I don't want to, you tell me if you feel I'm off base on this, it sounded like he had been prepared for a scenario where the Titans could potentially have traded back and taken him more closer to where he was projected or closer to where he was projected to go. Am I reading too much into that? That there was a thought. But he didn't think he was going to go that high at 4.
Yeah.
Because that's how it came off to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I don't know. I mean, he said like 5 words there. So,
Buddy, it's all he said all night. So.
a lot of mock drafts did not have Carnell Tate going in the top 5. Most mock drafts did not have Ty Simpson going in the top 15.
I wonder,
right?
did anybody with a final mock draft pick him to the Titans?
Tate?
Yeah.
Not of any of like the big names we saw, the Jeremiahs and Yates and Schragers of the world, but what is a good mock draft? Like, how many picks?
I think
Just getting the right prospect, landing with the right team.
If you get 10, I feel like that's good.
I was going to say, if you
10
get
is
like
really good.
You get like a third of them, man, you knocked it out the park.
That's less than a third.
I was with
Right at
my buddy Jay, who you know, theoretically in the FNM Bank chat yesterday. He had his board all set up, and he was tracking it. And his final mock draft, he got like 13 picks right. Like more than most of the insiders would have by the end of the whole process.
Jay is famously
Just
a sicko,
insane.
yes?
Insane, yes.
Seriously insane.
Now, Jay is a Saints fan. He's not a Titans fan.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, correct. But yeah, so I get that we get weighed down in the months that lead up to the actual draft by where players are supposed to go. Right? Like, we have this thought in our mind, like, well, that guy's not going to go there. That's not where he's supposed to go. That's not where anybody's predicting him to go. And mock drafts are based on some level of insight and information, yes. But, as we know, 32 picks in the draft, getting less than a third of them is considered a good mock draft, right? So, sure, Carnell Tate was not expected to go in the top 5. That doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to me when you look at the rest of this draft and guys that went later than people thought. Mansour Delane was never supposed to be the number 6 overall pick. Ty Simpson was never supposed to be the number 13 overall pick. So
Yeah, but
I just don't.
you know it will if he doesn't live up to where he was taken.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know that conversation.
Of course it-
well,
yeah.
you're correct that it means nothing today.
Yeah.
And he hasn't put on a uniform.
No, he has to come in and play up to that
Yeah.
level. Yeah, 100%.
So with Tate, a very productive player, 2-year starter at Ohio State. And again, Lucas pointed out, it's between LSU and Ohio State. Ohio State seems to have passed it, though. I know that they're still putting out a Neighbors or, here or there, but it feels like Ohio State has won every year at least
In the last decade.
to roll off the conveyor belt,
It's not even
essentially.
close.
So Ohio State, probably the best program producing wide receivers to the pros going right now. Now, Brian Hartline has since left Ohio State, and he's a head coach where?
USF.
Okay, USF.
So Jeremiah Smith will be the last one.
Yeah, the new receiver coach will have a high pick next year.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do much with that one.
He's going to have a lot of expectations.
Get a head start on his resume. So I mentioned he ranked both 18th in receptions and yards at Ohio State, 26th in touchdowns, played 39 games between those 3 seasons that he played, the 2 seasons where he was a starter, started 26 of those games and finished with 121 receptions for 1,872 yards, 14 career touchdowns in college. First team All Big Ten wide receiver, goes to the Titans at number 4. So I think for what the team needed wide receivers, I wonder if this is something that tells us what they thought about the wide receivers that might be available in day 2 or day 3. Maybe it does not stop them from taking another wide receiver. I think that you would then be getting into the luxury as opposed to just dressing bare bone needs, but you're not necessarily drafting for need here if you can help it. And if they believed Carnell Tate to be absolutely the best player on the board, we'll see. It's their judgment call, and we'll see how that plays out moving forward. Now, you asked Daniel Jeremiah a question, unless you want to get to that later in the show.
No, I think it's worth hearing. He was on maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, and we were just coming off that show at ML Rose where we talked a lot about Carnell Tate and the possibilities of him at 4. So we asked Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network, why isn't Carnell Tate being talked about more in that top 5 range or at 4 to the Titans?
I think so. I mean, I'm a little surprised I haven't heard that question starting at pick number 2. You know, if you're thinking about the Jets and their thought process of trying to lay the foundation for their quarterback that they would add in 2027, look, when you're ranked as like my 6th player, people and teams are going to have it a little different here or there, but that's absolutely in the range in the ballpark. If you're picking 4, I mean, without question, they're doing their homework on him, and I'd applaud it if they did it. I'll be on set when that pick gets announced, and if they take Tate, I'll applaud it as doing something for Cam Ward, which I can fully appreciate. That's why I'm making the argument for Love there, but I wouldn't hate that pick at all.
Did he applaud? I didn't see. We had the ESPN coverage on in the media room.
Yeah.
Did he applaud physically?
No, he did not physically applaud. But yeah, they got into. I mean, with Tate, the biggest things are the sure-handedness, right? He caught 120 of his 160 targets, contested catches, a route technician. He didn't put up crazy numbers at Ohio State. He was flanked by Emeka Egbuka, I believe, the all-time leader in receptions at Ohio State, and Jeremiah Smith, who is likely to be a top 3 pick next year and the best receiver in the draft. But yeah, there weren't really any picks 2 in the top 10 that you just think, what the hell are they doing, right? Like, I don't know what the first pick was in the NFL draft where you thought that's crazy.
You don't think that people who had been saying the Cardinals would be crazy to take Love were saying, what the hell are they doing when they took Love?
There probably is some criticism there, yeah. On
beyond that, you're probably right, but I think if there was a what the hell are you doing moment, it was Love. Even though, he might have been the best player available.
Were you all surprised that the Chiefs traded up to get Delane? I felt like that was a little bit of a shock. Not like they don't need him, but the spot that he was taking, going 6.
Brett. No, not Brett. What's the GM's name?
Yeah, Brett Veach.
Brett Veach. Yeah. Brett Veach was talking last night. I saw a clip making the rounds and basically saying, he said a different version of what Mike Borgonzi said when I asked him about Keldrick Falk and whether Keldrick Falk would be there at 35. He said, if you like a player enough, just go get him. And that was their feeling about the way that things were breaking around Mansour Delane, who they considered to be the top corner in the draft. Did McCoy go last night?
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss that because we were running back and forth between the press conferences and the draft room itself.
No, we could talk about it coming up next in the SEC segment, but neither Tennessee prospect went last night, Hood nor McCoy.
Right, and it was expected that Hood was probably a high second-rounder. The McCoy thing was something that was going to be worth monitoring, especially with the most recent reports. So let's talk a little bit about Keldrick Falk, who comes to Tennessee by way of Auburn. So, he didn't. I didn't think that this was worth a reaction, but he said that he has played football since first grade, but that he does not watch the NFL until recently. And like by recently, I think he meant like in the lead up to the draft. Does that strike you in a kind of way? I mean, I assume that the football player is busy doing football things, that perhaps if he doesn't want to spend his time watching NFL football versus doing something else, or maybe they've got something on the schedule for them on Sundays in college, whatever. But I a lot of people seem to latch on to, what do you mean he doesn't watch NFL?
Yeah, I think more players do that than you would think, right? I mean,
Teron said that too, especially younger guys.
We've talked about it on the show before. I remember Jarrell Casey being asked, we've definitely talked about it, being asked about who he looked up to as a football. He's like, I didn't watch football. It's a job. It's a means to an end. Like, I didn't grow up obsessing over it and wanting to model my game after a player.
No, I didn't get the sense that it was that situation, like that it's a job for Keldrick Falk. I just think that he didn't expand really on it other than to say, I just recently started learning about the NFL, because I just simply asked him, because he had no contact with the Titans, right? No 30 visit, no. They did. Borgonzi mentioned that they did a lot of in-depth work on Tate, which they would have to if they were going to do something that most people didn't expect them to do, to make sure that they were sound in their process and their decision-making. And then on Falk, he said he had almost little to no contact with them, and that he did not know much about them at all, and I think he did well to kind of get through his Jeffrey Simmons answer so as to not appear disrespectful to one of the best players in football. But it was something that a lot of people on social media at least were talking about.
Sure. I wonder if it's just a product of where he's from, too. He's from a small town outside of Montgomery, Alabama, where the NFL is not exactly king.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Keldrick Falk grew up an Auburn fan. I remember his recruitment, a high-profile recruit. I think he was part of Hugh Freeze's first class, and he was committed to FSU and flipped to Auburn pretty late. So I'm not sure if he grew up an Auburn fan. I can tell you, as someone that went to high school in Birmingham, Alabama, the NFL does not rule the roost down there. It's not necessarily topic A on sports radio or on Monday mornings in offices. It's what happened on Saturday night. So maybe that's a question for Keldrick Falk down the line if he did grow up watching more college football than the NFL. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's a huge talking point. Would you like to hear Dane Brugler's ultimate takeaway on Keldrick Falk?
Well, yes, you do that, and then Zach will hear from Keldrick Falk right after Lucas is done reading this.
Brugler on The Beast via The Athletic writes, Falk has more, quote, almost plays than impact ones on his tape, but you bet on a developing 21-year-old player with his exciting traits. He is similar in several ways to Michael Williams as a prospect. The character and upside are promising, but how early a team drafts him is dependent on its appetite for risk.
So, 31, you'd say, okay, like, not the end of the world. I mean, they've already got one project edge player they have to figure out in Femi. What's two when they've signed 12 new defensive players or added 12 new defensive players over the course of the last couple of months. So if you wanted to, get your sure and more safe thing and take a little bit of risk on a player that doesn't have that collegiate production, as you mentioned. Let's hear from Keldrick Falk, Zach, after he was drafted last night.
You said in kindergarten that you wanted to play in the NFL. Tonight that dream becomes a reality. How would you describe it?
I don't even know how to feel right now. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm happy.
You should be happy, and your versatility is a defining feature of your game, your ability to line up inside and outside along the D-line. How do you think Robert Saleh can get the best out of you?
Just by putting me where we need to win, and then using me all across the D-line. That's just what I do, and that's how I play.
Congratulations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so that's Laura Rutledge interviewing Keldrick Falk last night. Caught up in the moment, just happy. Our big fella. And it should be. Obviously a huge moment for all of these guys in their life. But Borgonzi did focus on that versatility after the fact, saying, we can play him inside, we can play him outside. Gives us another body for what Robert Saleh wants to do. They just felt that the fit was overwhelmingly good for the value that they had. In fact, Zach, can I hear from Mike Borgonzi on whether they thought Keldrick Falk might be available with their original second-round pick, which was at 35 before they traded with the Bills last night?
Did you guys get the sense that Keldrick wouldn't be there at 35?
Just looking at some of the needs and stuff and where we had him on the board. He was our highest rated guy at the time, and we thought, this guy really fit the defense well. So we just went up. When you see a player that you like, you just go up and get him.
See a player that you like, go up and
simple.
get him. It's basically the same thing that Brett Veach said about Mansour Delane.
Yeah, and for Brett Veach, it was Carnell Tate's off the board. All right, Delane's our number one guy. Now let's go get him. And for Mike Borgonzi, I don't know if there was another player that that's what I'd be curious about. If there's a player directly before Falk that went off the board that pushed Falk up to number one. Keldrick Falk went at 31 overall. Not Omar Cooper, who went at 30. Obviously, the Titans had a dressed receiver. You had Peter Woods, the D tackle, before that. Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle, before that. The last edge rusher before Falk was Malachi Lawrence at 23 to Dallas.
Somebody needed to check on Schefter last night after they traded back up into the first round. He said Titans need to address their wide receiver needs after they had already taken Tate.
Now, that would have been interesting. Yeah,
maybe that one was pre-scheduled or something like that. I don't know. But it was seemed to have missed the fourth pick.
There were some good moments last night on TV.
I was watching the NFL Network coverage. It was pretty smooth sailing. There was nothing, no gaffes.
Mel, right before the Browns took Casey Concepcion, slid in his last bit of analysis before the pick. Shador could really use a receiver here.
Of course he did. The trade to 31, the Titans obviously got 31 and 69 and 165. Buffalo got 35, 66, and 101. So you move up 4 spots to get Keldrick Falk, and you move 1 pick back 3 spots and the other pick back 64 spots.
That's the big one.
And that's how much they like Keldrick Falk in the back end of the first round.
So still several picks to make tonight, obviously, in day 2. We can take your phone calls on this. 615-737-1045 is the number. How about Eli and Franklin? Okay, Eli and Franklin was not there for me, so we'll do Lucas's SEC stat of the day coming up next.
Tate is a tight.
You're down with SEC with Lucas P. You're down with SEC with Lucas P. Who's down with SEC? It's Lucas P.
All right, we do it after every first round of an NFL draft, the conference breakdown. We put the over-under for the SEC right at 6.5, and the over just barely hits, as the SEC has the second most players of any power conference going off the board yesterday with 7. The highest drafted was Mansour Delane at number 6 overall. The last one was Keldrick Falk to the Titans at 31, the second to last pick of the first round. The Big Ten led the charge with 10 first-round draft picks. Big 12 and ACC came in tied for third with 6 apiece. Can you tell me the last time the SEC has only had 7 first-round draft picks?
7 first-round draft picks. Didn't we do this exercise earlier in the week?
We did it for the last time the SEC had a player not going in the top 8.
And that was 2016?
That was 2016, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say 2016 feels like a safe bet.
2015 is the last time the SEC only had 7. And locally, obviously, it's the 2 Tennessee players that did not hear their names called. Colton Hood was always going to be a late-round guy in that sort of 28 to 32 range. Jermon McCoy, had he been totally healthy, would have had a shout to be the first corner off the board, right, depending on how teams evaluated him. But obviously he wasn't, and he missed all of last year with the ACL. But it really feels like the news this week about a potential operation for a degenerative knee issue is what dropped him out of the first round yesterday.
That's a safe bet. It changes the math on what kind of value pick you want to place, even though that's a premium position and a really good player. So you hate to see it happen to anybody on a personal level. This is supposed to be an exciting moment, I'm sure. Any level of less than what you expect or less than what you worked for as a college athlete, trying to get to this moment and then further expand your opportunities as a pro would be super disheartening. So you hate it for Jermon McCoy on a personal level. From a team practicality standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, it does make sense. And Tennessee has no players taken in the first round, and the Vols have not gone back-to-back years with first-round draft picks since the 2013-2014 drafts.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so 6 of the last 8 years as well, Tennessee has not had a first-round draft pick.
Okay.
And so we went from, hey, looks like they're about to have 2 first-rounders for the first time in 16 years at the same position for the first time since 2002, and instead they're going to be sitting there as value picks essentially at the top of the second.
Obviously you want as many first-round prospects as humanly possible for your program. It's just good marketing, right? Like Indiana, I thought, really leaned into it with having the spring game at the exact same time as the NFL draft, with Mendoza getting drafted number 1 basically as the spring game kicks off.
Yeah, great idea.
That was they really layered it in there to try and, because I told you they're trying to indoctrinate Indiana fans into football culture, and that's the best possible way to do it. So I'm sure Tennessee fans are a little disappointed by that, just in terms of what you could sell as a program. Obviously, there are still other things to sell, NIL opportunities, what have you.
Our guy from Hattie B's is here. That is a beautiful sight to see. That beautiful Hattie B's red is in the building at Titans House.
I was going to be my mood is significantly better now.
Oh, thank goodness.
My mood is significantly better now.
Thank goodness. Titans House
doesn't believe me.
Has an open house at 11 a.m., beginning at 11 to 6. So come out to Germantown. Like we said, 3HL will be out here. Cover 2 will be out here. And 3HL at some point will be chatting with both Keldrick Falk and Carnell Tate out here at Titans House. And you can come get you some free Hattie B's hot
That's
chicken.
the selling point. Absolutely.
So, yeah, no, I do maintain that the most important player in this draft for Tennessee is Chris Brazzell. Not even necessarily on how high he goes, but what he does once he gets into the NFL under Josh Heupel. The guys that have hit in the NFL are the guys on the defensive side of the ball, the Byron Youngs of the world.
What if he ends up going lower than he's projected?
Chris Brazzell? I mean, what are we saying that is right now? Like third round?
No, I would have said second round.
Yeah. It's been mixed. Like the last time we saw, I want to say Peter Schrager had him at 91 overall in the third. Some have had him as high as a second-round draft pick. It also depends on what that run on receivers looks like at the start of day 2 later this afternoon. But, yeah, Hood and McCoy fall right out. Mansour Delane off the board at 6 as the first SEC player out of LSU. Bama going back-to-back with Caden Proctor at 12 to Miami, Ty Simpson at 13.
Yeah, when do you want to talk about McVay and Ty Simpson?
Yeah, I guess now's as good a time as any. That was kind of crazy. I mean, just because Sean...
Just quickly, if you're not aware or you didn't see this on social media last night, everybody gives a post-draft press conference at the end of the round. Everybody waits until the end of the round, no matter if you picked at 4 or 32. And Les Snead is taking questions with Sean McVay sitting next to him. And again, we don't know specifically what's going on in Sean McVay's head. We can only look at his body language and his very, very terse responses to some of the questions that he was receiving about his team drafting a quarterback at 13th overall with the reigning MVP at quarterback on their roster. And you would describe Sean McVay's demeanor and body language as what?
Oh, what is the word? I mean...
Tight.
Yeah.
He looked very tight.
Like he was trying to be like self-disciplined.
Yes.
Like just don't say anything. Just keep
if you
it
don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, that's
what it looked like was on Sean McVay's face. Again, we are speculating. Maybe he loves Ty Simpson.
But it is jarring because, and he could like Ty Simpson as a prospect, but also believe like we're in a Super Bowl window. Can we get somebody to stack a piece for another run with Matt Stafford?
Sure.
But we're just so used to seeing the vibes in L.A. being so carefree on day one because they almost never have first-round draft picks, first of all. Like, you think back to a few years ago when the Patriots took Cole Strange and McVay and Snead were in the middle of their presser and they're, like, cutting up. And, oh, look at that, Cole Strange off the board. They just looked like a couple of buddies.
It was alleged that they had several beers before they sat down to give that press conference.
Right, because the stakes were low. They're like, we're good. We got nothing to do tonight. So you're just so used to the vibes being so, loose and fun in these post-first-round press conferences in L.A., but it was tense.
Yes.
Les Snead's talking about how much they liked the player, and Sean McVay looked like he didn't want to say more than 3 or 4 words.
Shooting him daggers.
Yeah, man.
A couple pictures.
That McVay's eyes are like that. Like McVay's got one of those.
No, but you could see the steam coming out of his ears, basically. It was wild to see that yesterday.
That clenched jaw.
Meanwhile, great landing spot for Ty Simpson.
Sure, if the coach wants to coach him.
They do need a backup. I mean, draft a quarterback when you don't need one, right?
Okay, but wasn't it just very much still up in the air whether Garoppolo was going to retire or not? They just retired Jimmy for him?
Yeah, and Sean McVay has been on record saying we hope he comes back.
Yes, correct. It makes McVay look not super foolish, but it makes him look a little foolish, right? Because he was just talking.
We know who's running the show there.
They want Garoppolo back. Yeah. Well, I wonder how McVay feels about that. This would be. And again, there are always disagreements in draft rooms, right? It's just rare that you see. That's what made the Mike Vrabel, John Robinson, A.J. Brown thing more visceral, right? Because you could see Vrabel stand up in a huff after the deal is done. They've got the camera on him in the draft room. He's pacing like a caged animal. Yeah, that's why those things seem more visceral in the moment, because you can see, okay, the GM made a decision here, and the coach may not be 100% in line with it, if even close.
He did not go in the top 5, but I'm claiming victory on Ty Simpson going in the top 15.
You said he was going to go 3 to the Cardinals.
No, I said 13. You misheard.
You could not have been more wrong.
You misheard. I said 13 to the Rams. Same division, different team.
Oh, goodness. Okay, those are the SEC stats of the day. Some good stats in there from Lucas. We got rounds 2 and 3 tonight, of course. Greg Cosell is going to be on the radio show live. We obviously didn't think it made sense to do an episode of the podcast yesterday morning, as is the custom. So we're going to talk about both first-round picks with Cosell in the second hour coming up next.
It is coming up on 11 o'clock. Good morning. Live from Titans House in Germantown, I'm Lucas Panzica. With the 4th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Titans selected Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate. 121 passes caught for 1,872 yards and 14 touchdowns over his 3 seasons with the Buckeyes. The Titans were not done before the night was over, trading back into the first, sending picks 35, 66, and 101 to Buffalo in exchange for picks 31, 69, and 165. With the 31st pick, the Titans took Auburn edge rusher Keldrick Falk. In other first-round notables, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson went 13 overall to the Rams. The New York Jets came away with 3 first-round draft picks, including Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper late, and both Tennessee corners in Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood fell out of the first round. Day 2 of the draft gets underway today, 6 p.m. You can hear Titans radio coverage right here on The Zone. The Titans' next pick will be in the 3rd round at 69 overall. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
So the Titans took not 1 but 2 players last night in the first round of the NFL Draft. Carnell Tate, not expected to go at 4, but goes 4 nonetheless, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. And then the work was not done. They got back up into the first round, and with Buffalo, who had traded previously with New England for the 31st pick, and then trading back again into the second round with the Titans, Tennessee was able to come up and get Keldrick Falk. So a wide receiver and let's just call him a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely big enough to play inside if need be. The comparison was Eric Armstead. That does not scream edge necessarily. Maybe in a Robert Saleh 4-3 defense, 43 defense, that's more appropriate, but still, this is a defensive lineman that they've added as opposed to a guy who's an outside linebacker in the way that you conventionally think about.
The Titans have not had 2 first-round draft picks in the same draft since 2017.
That's right. Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson.
Yep. Before that, I mean, you got to.
So, hey, a wide receiver that was drafted too high and a project defender, same vibes.
I mean, sure, we'll find out, I guess. I like you're sitting here like with a needle, just like waiting for people to bite.
Yeah, sure.
Like get out of here.
Let me have some fun. Come on. So yeah, they take Keldrick Falk, and this was Trevor Sikkema. We had him on the show yesterday, and Trevor Sikkema was anchoring with Connor Rogers and Malik Neighbors and Micah Parsons and Adam Lefkoe. Bleacher Report's streaming draft coverage. And in this particular clip, Zach, if we could hear from Trevor and Connor Rogers on the Bleacher Report podcast talking about loving Keldrick Falk's tape.
He's strong as an ox, and he's got a much better first step than you would expect. Anytime that's the case for a guy who's 6'6", 280, 285, I can understand people wanting to believe in him.
I'll be honest, after watching him this summer and then just writing in all the info in my spreadsheet, I was expecting to be really disappointed with the tape, that he didn't take the jump that I wanted him to take. I thought the tape was phenomenal. Him turning 21 during his rookie season and already being 6'6", 288, he's the guy that some coach or a scout is going to beg their GM to take in the top 10, and I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay, so that is overwhelming praise from Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers on Bleacher Report's draft coverage last night.
I mean, what other positions are there from a certain school that you look at and say, no, I'm good with that. Like, let's keep riding that train, so to speak. Because we have these conversations about, quarterbacks from Alabama never really make it big in the NFL. Quarterbacks from Ohio State almost never.
Mississippi State defensive lineman for 100 years.
Yeah, for sure. But with Ohio State receivers, at least until Jeremiah Smith is drafted, most of them coming from the Brian Hartline developmental factory, as he is no longer on staff. But is there another, we'll keep that same phrase, developmental factory of one specific position for a specific program that you look at and say, yeah, they're coming from the same system, working under the same coach, that really sticks out?
Man, that's tough, because I would have said one position until you said the same system. I would have said LSU and corners. LSU always tends to have corners in the draft.
Yeah, sure. And LSU tends to have receivers too. Like LSU just tends to have talent.
Sure.
Right? LSU, Louisiana, is one of the most talent-rich states in the entire country. I'm talking about specifically one man overseeing one position group and just churning them into the NFL. And when they get there, they play at a high level.
Yeah, that's a very specific. I don't have an example of that off the top of my head. Maybe the F&M Bank chat or the phone callers could help us out there if they have a particular coach and position group that comes to mind as far as putting talent from one program under one coach into the NFL on a regular basis. I think
O-line from Iowa is
O-line
a
from
good
Iowa.
shout by Bob.
God knows Kirk Ferentz's staff hasn't changed ever.
Yeah. O-line and tight ends from Iowa.
O-line and tight ends. They always tend to have safeties too, I feel like. There's we can say that about Iowa because the Iowa staff doesn't change. Like the Iowa staff has been the same for 100 years basically. So on Keldrick Falk, though, played and started in all 12 games last year for Auburn. He was a team captain, third-team All-SEC, and has made 32 consecutive starts dating back to 2023. The Titans were good to provide us some biographical information on him. He had 5 tackles for loss, which is a decent number, but only 2 sacks. Tied for the team lead with 4 pass breakups. He's a giant. He's, depending on where you look, I know there was different measurements at Combine and Pro Day on some of these guys, but he's 6'5", 260 plus. Keldrick Falk. He's full sized, and the Eric Armstead comparisons from Mike Borgonzi yesterday were interesting to me.
Why was he so much more productive in his second to last year at Auburn, getting to the quarterback? He had 7 sacks in the 2024 season, and then the 2 sacks in the 2025 season.
Yeah, that's a great question. And he was asked by, I want to say it was Teron Davenport last night about, things that he has to work on. He was very aware of the dialogue around him specific to his production. He said, yeah, I underachieved. I need to do better. He was very accountable as to where he thinks he needs to improve his game. For a guy that tall, needs to work on pad level and things like that. Was talking us through it pretty well. I'd be curious to hear him on, he's going to be on 3HL. Both of them are going to be on 3HL later today. So I'd be curious, once the nerves settle down, once the excitement settles down, what they sound like in a little bit more of a relaxed setting, even though there's going to be a million things happening around them here. I want to see if you have a thought here. I'm going to see if I can find his answer in the transcript.
Because that's back-to-back years now where you're taking a projection, a developmental edge rusher there in the low 30s range, whether it's back end of the first round or early second round. Obviously, last year was Femi Oladejo, who we know had a position change. The vast majority of his football career was as an off-ball linebacker, made that switch late in his UCLA career, and his development was kind of neutered a little bit by the injury last season. But Femi Oladejo is one that needs to kind of take a big step this year to contribute to this Titans pass rush.
Yep.
And now you're adding on to that another player that could have a long road ahead of him, and the ceiling is what you think about. But
that's why you add 12 defenders before this in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy can be Eric Armstead in his rookie season, where he's just he's a role player.
Yeah,
even though he's a first-round pick.
A run stuffer, which was a huge strength of his in college. But I do think edge is one position that, for fans that aren't breaking down the tape and looking at the length and all the things, the traits that could turn him into a good player at that position, that is one position that the first thing people will look at is production. Okay, how good and productive were you at the college level? Falk doesn't necessarily have those numbers when it comes to affecting the quarterback. So,
well, what did Brugler write? Almost plays?
Almost plays,
Almost plays.
So it's not to say he can't get home in his rookie year, but will the Titans have enough in support with the pass rush to give Keldrick Falk that runway to develop into the type of player the Titans need him to be, while Femi Oladejo, the clock is kind of ticking on him being the Titans player that they need him to be in year 2 of his career.
So Falk was asked last night if he accepted and was aware of the analysis that his production had dipped below his ability, specifically last year over year, as you talked about. He said, I do say that it's fair, the criticism. He's saying my production did go down a little bit last year, but I feel like that was just really on me. I've got to finish my plays, and then, like I said, I've got to finish on the quarterback a whole lot better. A whole lot better than I have been going into the next level. That's the biggest thing that I'm working on right now. You can coach finish.
Yeah, and he's young. They're both young. They're both 21, correct? Yeah. In a draft where, and this is going to be the norm, the average age is just going to get higher and higher.
18% of them were 24 or older in this draft.
That's crazy.
Insane.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's not that long ago that we used that as a pretty big knock, especially on like quarterbacks that are 24, 25 or older. Both of these guys, 21 years old. I mean, most of us were juniors in college at 21.
Somebody said move Femi to guard. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to chime in. Titans have 2 first-round draft picks. We're here to take your reaction to that situation. Did you feel like they got good value on Carnell Tate? Did you like the trade for Keldrick Falk at the back half of the first round? Of course, day 2 getting underway later this afternoon with rounds 2 and 3, of which they still do have a number of picks. They traded 3 picks to Buffalo to get 3 picks back. It's just maneuvering around in different rounds as Lucas laid out that trade earlier today. So what does Dawn think? Did you see any reaction from Dawn?
I think she's fired up.
Defer to our Auburn football expert.
I don't think we have an Auburn Tiger on the Titans.
The last Auburn Tiger on the Titans was Roger McCreary.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, yeah, I think Don's fired up to have Falk in town.
But I meant not from a fan standpoint, from like, is he a good player standpoint, from somebody who watches all these Auburn football games.
Tune into 3HL to find out.
Okay, very good. You can hear Dawn effusive with her Auburn praise with Keldrick Falk when both of the first-round picks are on 3HL later this afternoon. So I glanced up at they show the live shot of the draft room after they make the picks. Dable looked way more animated and shaking many more hands vigorously on the Tate pick. And then you saw Saleh look a little more animated in the draft room. Try not to read too much into those things when Keldrick Falk was taken. So it felt like, okay, they satisfied both here because, as Todd McShay has said before, Brian Dable didn't come here to play with sticks. Okay, here's Carnell Tate. Let's get you another player for you to send in your waves of pass rush and front 7 players, Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley, who looked, at least from my standpoint, very excited on the images that they were showing in the draft room.
I felt the opposite. When they made their 4th overall selection and you saw that the pick was in and we didn't know who the pick was and they showed the draft room, Saleh looked elated.
Okay.
And I literally said to Jay next to me, oh, okay, it's Sonny, it's Styles, or it's Reese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I looked up at a different time.
So
he got on the phone and he goes, Carnell Tate.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Saleh did?
Yeah, I think Saleh was pretty fired up for that 4th pick.
We need Gus Johnson to do a Titans game this year. Tater!
Yeah.
No, you can't agree with him. You just spent all year making fun of Gus Johnson. You don't like Gus Johnson.
It's a little over the top sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Jeremiah Smith, money on the rise.
615-737-1045 is how you chime in. Greg Cosell will chime in on the Titans' 2 first-round draft picks. Coming up next. Two Rivers Ford is the South's most trusted Ford dealer for a reason, because we've all bought a concert ticket or a ticket to a sporting event, for example, and you see one price, you're comfortable with that price, you can budget for that price, you can buy a number of tickets at that price point for your family if you want to attend a family event. And then you go to check out, and there's all manner of fees, and that price gets jacked up to high heaven. And you're wondering, what the hell happened here? That often takes place at car dealerships too. And that's why Two Rivers Ford does not do that to you, because they want the car buying experience to be fast, easy, and just generally more fun. Their sales staff does not work on commission, so they do not put pressure on you throughout the course of the car buying process. They are there to make the process enjoyable for you and fair for you. That's why Two Rivers Ford has been in business for over 4 decades. It's why they're local, honest, real. The South's most trusted Ford dealer is Two Rivers Ford. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Greg Cosell of NFL Films is on the horn now. As a matter of fact, we've got the Install Live show, Greg, coming up a week from today. Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi was announced as our special guest host this year, and we have two, not one, but two first-round picks to talk to the Titans GM about. Tickets are available at 1045thezone.com. Happy Friday, buddy.
Hey, happy Friday to you guys. We got two first-round picks. I personally like it. It's funny. Everybody reacts, to the draft. All I can say is I can only react to the players, whether it's the Titans or any team, based on my evaluation. That's all I do. I don't get into, they reached, they did this, they did that. I can just tell you what my evaluation of the players are, because believe it or not, I actually think that people that do this for a living and work at it and have 25 people involved, maybe I'm crazy, but I actually think that, pretty much most of the time they kind of know what they're doing, which doesn't mean everybody gets it right all the time, because it's still human beings evaluating human beings.
Sure. It's as inexact a science as we have. But, yeah, for the amount of time, effort, and resources dedicated to this process. Greg, I understand your point, obviously, and that's why we're bringing you on to talk about just simply the players themselves and what your evaluation of it was. And we'll leave the rest of the dialogue to, talking heads like me and the Twitter sphere after the fact. But as far as – and we will obviously talk more about fit specifically for the Titans when we have the live show, when we talk about these players. But just to go through your evaluations with the audience now, because I know we're going to have a different audience, or at least different parts of the audience in the house next Friday at the Analog Room.
Well, let's start with Carnell Tate. And by the way, a draft never surprises me with any players that are chosen for the simple reason that none of us know what a team's draft board looks like. So the people who are surprised are only reacting that way because of what they see. They don't have any idea what the Titans draft board looks like. So I would say about Carnell Tate that for me, he was the number one receiver in this draft class. And I'll tell you exactly, and I'll send you my stuff because I always do. You'll get all my notes, and we pass that out next week. But to me, what Tate is he's a smooth technician and a really subtle, refined route runner. He's got great hands. His smoothness and easy fluidity does have an explosive feel to it, even though he's not a burner. But he has great skill to manipulate corners, and that allows him to get vertical at times. He's a very kind of smooth, controlled, efficient player. And the more I watched him, and what I did, because I knew we were going to talk about him today, and obviously I wanted to revisit him anyway, because the first time I watched him was actually before the Combine. So I revisited Tate this morning. I came away thinking to myself, is there a legitimate comparison to be made to Davante Adams coming out of Fresno State? And don't forget, Davante Adams was the 53rd pick in the 2014 draft. Obviously, he's gone on to have a career that's likely to end up in the Hall of Fame. But Adams was a little more physical than Tate because he weighed more. But in terms of style, because Adams also ran over 4.5. The more I watched Tate, the more I thought that they were similar stylistically in how they played.
That would be obviously and again, it's just who the player reminds you of as you're watching him. It's important, I think, always to remind the audience, Greg is not saying that Carnell Tate will become Davante Adams and all the things that Davante Adams has accomplished, just who you're reminded of when you turn that film on.
I think Tate, to me, is, the way I would describe him, and I think the audience will understand, he comes into the league, and you don't say this a lot, but I'm going to say it about Tate because I think it's true. He comes into the league as a professional receiver. He really knows how to run routes. He's a masterful technician. He knows how to deploy pace and tempo on different routes. He's just very nuanced in how he plays. The only thing that he does not have a lot of in his game is run after catch. But that's, to me, that would be the only thing that I would view as a true weakness. Look, he's not a burner, but as I said, because he's such a technician in how he runs routes, he can get vertical. but you're not drafting him in the same way you think of, Jamison Williams or Jalen Waddle. You're not drafting him because you think he's going to be that guy vertically. But boy, you watch his tape on his vertical routes, and you just see how he attacks corners, forces them to turn. As soon as they turn, he goes, knows how to stack corners when he gets on top of them. He just knows how to play the receiver position the right way.
Greg Cosell of NFL Films here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You can be in the house. Greg's going to be here next Friday when we are hanging out with Titans GM Mike Borgonzi and 300 of you at the Hutton Hotel in the Analog Room for the Install Live, breaking down these two players, the rest of the Titans draft class, and a number of different free agent acquisitions that they've made. We'll get the link posted in the chat for those of you watching on Zone TV.
Greg, we have spoken a lot about the train of Ohio State wide receivers that has gone into the NFL under Brian Hartline's watch, going back to Jackson Smith-Njigba and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Mecca Egbuka, and the list goes on. Have you noticed any sort of trend in those receivers coming from that program here in recent years on anything specific that they seem to all do well? Are there any consistencies there?
Yes.
I know it's a big sample size that you've picked up on.
No. And you didn't even mention Garrett Wilson, who's really good too. They all know how to run routes. They're all technicians. They all understand how to use their vertical stem. They all understand the pace and tempo of routes, that not every route is run the same way. So, yes, obviously Brian Hartline, who I've never met personally, and I know he's not there anymore. I think he's now a head coach. But, yes, so he must really work hard on that because, a lot of these guys are obviously five-star kids coming out of high school, and they can probably just win based on their pure physical talent at the high school level. But then with each level, you have to learn how to play the position. So obviously he teaches that, and you can see that in all of these receivers.
Meanwhile, Keldrick Falk at the 31st overall pick as the Titans trade back into the first round with Buffalo to get him. We saw the production dip a little bit from 2024 to 2025, and that's just looking at numbers with the naked eye, right? Did you watch enough of Keldrick Falk in 2024 to notice any discernible difference in why his impact was maybe felt a little bit less in his last year at Auburn?
Well, first of all, Lucas, I would disagree with that statement. I would say his numbers were different, but his impact was not, and that's why you have to watch every play. Because last summer I watched 6 games, and this year I've watched 6 full games. So Falk is a really intriguing player. He's a foundational power player. That's his game. He's not a true bender. He's not a motorcycle lean guy. You wouldn't call him sudden and twitchy, but this guy plays strong, plays powerful. I revisited him this morning as well, and I just watched the Alabama game where he had meaningful snaps against Caden Proctor, first round versus first round. Really good matchup. Falk had good plays. Proctor had good plays. But you're dealing with a guy that is powerful. He's long. He's athletic but not explosive. And I will say this just from years of experience and talking to people through the years, power translates to the league. So He's by the way, he's only going to be 21 in September. So there's a lot more with this guy that there's a lot more to come. He's got really strong, heavy hands. He's got knockback power. He can one gap. He can two gap. There's a lot in this body that's yet to be cultivated. And from everything I gather and talking to some people, just a terrific young man. So look, this fits Robert Saleh because the first thing I thought of when I saw that Keldrick Falk was the pick, I thought of players who've been with Robert Saleh. I thought of Eric Armstead. I thought of Mikael Williams, who they drafted last year. Guys that are big, physical, can line up inside, can line up outside, are multi-positional within the context of his 4-man front. And I think Keldrick Falk fits that. And my sense is he's only going to get better as he continues to mature and develop.
Yeah, Borgonzi brought up the first 49ers defensive lineman that you mentioned. Brought
Armstead.
him up. Eric Armstead. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. Eric Armstead with us in the post-draft.
That's the first. I didn't see. Yeah, obviously, I don't see those press conferences, but that's what I thought of when I saw that it was Falk because, you want to type. I mean, yeah, obviously Robert Saleh likes a certain kind of player. I mean, just think, and we don't know, we don't know if Keldrick Falk is going to be ready to start, day one. We don't know that. But let's say he is. If you look at that base front four, I'm talking about the base front four. We have no idea what it's going to look like in their nickel situations, their sub fronts. But you look at the size of that group. I mean, that would be a big, big group because you're talking about Jermaine Johnson and Falk at DN and Franklin Myers and Big Jeff inside. That is a big four-man D line. Now, like I said, Falk may or may not be ready. We can't answer that on April 24th.
Greg Cosell of NFL Films here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We've got rounds 2 and 3 of the draft tonight, of course. Titans have several picks remaining on the board, especially as a result of that trade with the Bills to get back up into the first round, exchanging a number of draft picks there. Greg, anything from round 1 in particular that the fit of the team that a player went to struck you as something that really caught your attention, that really intrigued you as you get ready, obviously, for another season of the NFL Matchup Show?
Oh, I'm trying to think specifically. I think in the minds of some people, and I'm never surprised and I'm never shocked because I've been doing this a long time, but this was a draft, Buck, where the really good players were players that were not at what we call premium positions. But you have to draft good players. I was saying to someone that, Jeremiah Love was probably a top 5 player on every team's board in the league. So you can't just then say, well, you know what, he's a running back, so I'm not going to take him. So that didn't surprise me at all. And we certainly don't know what would have happened if he was not taken at pick 3. I'm trying to think specifically. I thought that the Cowboys? The Cowboys drafted Caleb Downs, right?
Yes.
I thought that was, knowing Christian Parker, who was in Philadelphia, who I've spoken to, I think that is a really, because the importance in that system of a safety that's really smart and can do a lot of things is so, so important because I've spoken to Eagles coaches about that. So to me, for them, and everything you've heard about Caleb Downs is just how intelligent he is as a player. That to me just stood out immediately that they got that guy on the back end who can do everything. Obviously the Ty Simpson pick people are talking about, I have no problem with those. The worst thing is to have to draft a quarterback when you need a quarterback because then you get stuck. So now, and by the way, I think Ty Simpson's skill set fits Sean McVay extremely well. And in an ideal world, he's not playing this year anyway. But, Matthew Stafford is 37, 38 years old. A year ago, they weren't even sure he could be ready opening day because of his back. You just never know. And you don't want to be stuck. I remember when the New York Jets were stuck, and I've had this conversation with Mike Tannenbaum. He'll be the first to tell you. I'm not speaking out of school here. And he said, we got stuck. We had no quarterbacks on the roster, and we had to draft Mark Sanchez. You don't want to be in that situation. So, I never have a problem with that. That's, obviously a pretty important position. And then I'm trying to think of later round picks. I'm a Peter Woods fan based on tape study. I thought that was a really good pick for the Chiefs. I thought they addressed their defense really, really well with Peter Woods and Delaney with the trading up with the 6th pick. I thought that was, those are 2 guys I really like on tape. And that's the only way, as I said, that I can evaluate. It's based on how I evaluate the players.
Greg Cosell with us. The Titans do not pick until 69 later today, Greg, obviously because of that trade back into the first for Keldrick Falk. So they are likely not going to get a crack at the 2 Tennessee corners that fell out of the first round yesterday in Jermon McCoy and Colton Hood. And I know that the news about the health may not impact your opinion on a player when it comes to the tape. But Jermon McCoy falling out of the first round, obviously the health has a lot to do with that. How do you see the top of the cornerback class going into day 2 with McCoy and Hood kind of front and center along with Terrell, the corner out of Clemson?
Yeah, clearly McCoy, the people are concerned about the injury. There's no question about that because he's a first-round talent without the injury. So I'm curious to see where he gets drafted. The same thing happened a year ago with Will Johnson, who went in the 2nd round to Arizona, as you guys might recall. He was a first-round talent, went in the second round. So McCoy's a first-round talent. Hood is a guy that could have been drafted in the first round, although I was not surprised that Chris Johnson went because I really like Chris Johnson's tape. He struck me as a guy that you could start from day one, and he went to Miami, which badly needed corners. Avian Terrell, I like his tape. I've done him for 2 years. I think the question with him is teams might see him because of his size and the fact that he's kind of lean. He might be seen as a slot corner, not an outside corner. And if that's the case, then you're probably not drafting him in the first round anyway. So it's very possible that's how he's being seen. But Hood's an interesting guy. He's long. He's athletic. He could go early tonight. Now you start mixing needs with the players. Early on, I think in a draft, you just want to get good players. You want to stick to your board as much as possible and get good players. But then I think as the draft moves along, you probably think a little more about needs, and you try to match needs with the player.
Greg, we did announce that Mike Borgonzi was going to be our special guest host this year at the live show as we do our fourth annual Install Live next Friday, May the 1st, here in town, of course, to raise money for a great charity in Home Street Home, which is really what it's all about, and also the opportunity to get together with the audience to ask great questions, to see your guys' work on display. I know you're really excited. You've obviously started to have a relationship with Borgonzi here over the course of the last year, but I know you're really excited to sit down with him and grind through some of these prospects in front of the audience.
Yeah, and I believe me, I got some questions already all set, Buck, because you know me, I'm a process guy, and that's what it is for teams. It's the process. Don't forget, these teams do this 12 months out of the year. They have a ton of scouts who are not involved with the NFL team at all. All they're doing is evaluating college players. They go to the campuses. They talk to everybody. They know the kids, So, they do this as their job. So I'm always fascinated by the process of what goes into deciding that, hey, Carnell Tate's my fourth pick. Keldrick Falk is a guy we really had our eye on, so we wanted to trade up to get him. I want to know the process that's involved in that, among other things. And, I'm sure, look, we've been doing this. Is this our fourth year, Buck? Something like that.
It is, buddy. It's our fourth year.
Fifth?
It's our
fifth?
Fourth year for the live show. It's our sixth season doing the podcast.
Wow. Fourth year. Well, all I know is the questions that the audience asks are great. I'm assuming that many listen to me, with you and with 3HL, so they know the way I think about the game and get a sense of, how I see it. But the questions are always great, and it just generates more and more discussion. We always go longer than the time we think we are just because there are such great questions, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that Mike Borgonzi will be, forthcoming about the process. Look, obviously, he's not going to tell you, well, we like this guy and we really wanted this guy. Teams never do that. He's not going to do that. And people, I think, understand that. But I think that if you start talking about the process of evaluation and what they're looking for, and maybe, a little bit about Robert Saleh's defense and, and what he looks for in the context of his defense, those kinds of questions, I think that they'll be open to discussing those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's a great event exclusively for Titans fans. We're the envy of the league, Greg, because there's not anybody else doing a show like this for a fan base in any other of the NFL markets. We appreciate your time today, buddy. I look forward to catching up with you before you fly into town next week, and we do it live.
And early next week, you can expect all my notes, Buck, and, we'll go from there.
Absolutely. We'll have them on the tables for everybody in attendance. That's Greg Cosell of NFL Films, kind enough to make some time for us on this Friday. So he seems to be, as far as his evaluation of the players, especially the Falk fit for Robert Saleh, that seemed to be where Greg focused the most on why he liked that pick, where they were able to get that player.
Yeah. No disagreements from Greg Cosell on where the Titans were drawn at 4 and 31.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to chime in. Zach, do we have some phone calls to take before we get to Friday Fire?
We do not, but Friday Fire will be up shortly.
Okay, very good. I know people have been trying to get in, and we've been jumping from one thing to the other. So we do have Weezer tickets to give away for Friday Fire. If you call us, 615-737-1045, and give us your moment of positivity, the thing that was good that happened to you this week. It's draft week. It could just be that. We'll see. We'll give you ours coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you're like a lot of guys. And as you start to get up there in age, your body starts to change and you start to experience performance issues. It's not something to freak out about, but it's also not something to procrastinate with. You want to get your situation taken care of specifically, and you want to find a plan that makes sense for you the most as an individual. That's what the Tennessee Men's Clinic does, and you're going to love them because they have been doing this for decades, helping guys get back to feeling like themselves. They have so many different options for you, and it may, as I said, not be a one-size-fits-all type of situation. They're not going to offer you some kind of cookie-cutter treatment that makes sense for somebody else that's not specific to your body and to your needs. It's the Tennessee Men's Clinic, powered by Men's Pro, and especially because you're working with true medical providers who run labs and will build that plan around you for your best possible chance to succeed. They treat low performance, ED, weight loss, and even peptides like NAD+. And most guys say they wish they would have come in sooner. Right now, your lab panel and consultation are just $99. So call them at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Okay, you got the Friday.
Buck Rising is one of the least positive people on the planet. So to combat that, we've installed a new segment where he's forced to be positive. This is Friday Fire.
Because it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
The opportunity to win tickets to the upcoming Weezer show. 615-737-1045 is the number. Call in and give us your feel good, your Friday Fire on this beautiful Friday in Nashville. Beautiful weather for the draft party last night, I'm sure, at Nissan Stadium. I know you were hanging out with buddies last night. Looked like 3HL was down there.
3HL was down there.
Having a big time.
Everybody did a great job.
So I hope everybody enjoyed that. That could be your Friday Fire. You got 2 first-round picks. That could be your Friday Fire. Mine is the number 1 overall pick. Mine is Indiana football having a number 1 overall draft pick at quarterback. Something I never thought I would see, and it doesn't matter if you grew up an IU football fan, of which I did not. Doesn't matter if you jumped on the bandwagon during the national championship run, of which I, of course, very much did.
Convenient that that doesn't matter.
Yes, indeed. It does not matter at all. It's a completely irrelevant fact In fact, I'm not even sure it's a fact. I think it's just an erroneous allegation. But even still, Fernando Mendoza surrounded by how many people at this house in South Florida last night, plus Mark Cuban. You see that?
He was there?
Mark Cuban was at the Mark Cuban paid for the house. Are you kidding me?
No, I missed that.
Yes, correct. Anything that keeps Mark Cuban giving money to my athletic department makes me very happy.
So that wasn't their house that they were in.
I believe that was a rental house.
Okay. Mark Cuban hooked them up. Okay.
Mark Cuban hooked them because, I mean, he got paid at Indiana in NIL, but he ain't get paid like that. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a different kind of money, especially in South Florida. So to see IU football have not one but 2 first-round draft picks, much less a number 1 overall pick at quarterback in modern football, blows my mind still. So congratulations to Mendoza. Very, very cool. Lucas, I watched an Indiana football spring game for the first time in my life last night. I had it on my iPad during the draft.
I'm sure there was a great crowd.
There was? Yeah. Looked like a great time.
Well, when is the Indiana football stadium renovation happening? Is what I want to. Surely that's the next step.
As soon as Mark Cuban continues to write those checks.
Yeah. My Friday Fire goes to a young fan by the name of Dylan, who was a Make-A-Wish recipient who got a chance to announce the Seattle Seahawks draft pick at 32 overall yesterday in Pittsburgh. Now, like I said, his name is Dylan. He is a 2-time cancer survivor. He was introduced by Roger Goodell before the final pick of the first round, and my guy delivered.
Yes.
This was Dylan yesterday announcing the final pick of day 1.
What's going on with Pittsburgh? I'm so excited to be here to represent the 12s. Oh, and the reigning Super Bowl champion, Seattle! And with that, with the 32nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jadarian Price.
There it is.
Notre Dame, running back.
I mean, the veins were popping out of this dude's neck. He was giving everything he had into that announcement. I thought that was an awesome way to end the night. And how about Notre Dame getting 2 running backs, just sneaking in there with Jadarian Price at 32. I need to look that up the last time a school had 2 running backs come out in the same year in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I add a quick late submission to Friday Fire because I forgot about it and I shouldn't have. The Titans made these Coach Mack pins.
Yes.
I've got one on. They had a bunch for us in the media room last night. I'm pretty sure Mike Borgonzi was wearing one up on stage, so I assume they had them in the draft room as well. I know there was a lot of Coach Mack stuff and memorabilia, for lack of a better term, and remembrances at the draft party yesterday, so that made everybody's hearts, I think, very happy. And so I just wanted to give a shout-out to the Titans for doing that. That means a lot. I'm going to wear it all year long, and I'm going to bring one for Lucas and Moses, and Kirby said he won. I think Kirby actually got one yesterday, but just in case, I know Kirby is a pin collector.
Yes, I want one.
As well.
The last time 2 running backs from the same school were drafted in the same first round was 2008. Arkansas's Darren McFadden and Felix Jones.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Sure. Zach, do you have one before we go to the phones?
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to get back to you on that. Very good. That was your opportunity. Well done in your first appearance on the show. Who do we have on the phone? 615-737-1045 for the opportunity to win tickets to see Weezer. Give us your Friday Fire on this beautiful Friday here in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's start with Jim.
Hey, how's it going? My Friday
going good.
We're all blessed to have a beautiful day here in Music City. We shocked the world in the NFL draft by taking a wide receiver when we was all thinking defense last night. And I want to say go Big Orange and God bless Coach Mack.
Okay, all the things. We appreciate that. All well said. Remember to stay on hold for the opportunity to win those tickets. So, Jim, just vibes. Good vibes on this Friday.
Yeah.
Harvey next. We got Harvey.
I think it's Harley. They probably misheard me. No worries.
What do you mean you think? You don't know your name? What happened?
I know my name.
Okay.
You stole mine, Buck. Mine was just a great coverage last night during the draft party. But really more importantly, the radio broadcast. It felt like Coach was there. I know they said that, and I know that's what it actually felt like. But they had his binder there where he would have had all his notes. And it just, I don't know. This was something that, lights up for the draft. So I just think the coverage last night of it and just all around by the Titans, from the polo to the pin, so even to the little setup they had last night on the radio, it was just it was incredible. So
well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't get the chance to hear the Titans radio coverage, but I know they would have done a lot to make sure that they were remembering Coach Mack's memory. That's cool that they had the binder.
Yeah.
The black book, the sacred texts of Coach Dave McGinnis regarding the draft. All right, one more from Mark. What do you got, Mark?
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. Mine is, I'm a board member here at a nonprofit called the Hope Clinic, and we help women who are pregnant to with counseling and also to help keep their babies. So we had a gala this past week, and we raised over $517,000 to help ladies and women, young and older, to keep their babies and help counsel them. And also we help with fathers who don't know how to become great fathers. We help them as well. So just wanted to give a shout out to those who helped us raise that much money, and God bless.
Excellent. And the name of the cause again was what, Mark, if you would?
It's a nonprofit called the Hope Clinic of Nashville, downtown.
The Hope Clinic of Nashville. Okay, if you want more information, you can look up the Hope Clinic. Thank you very much, Mark, and great work by you. That's amazing. So you got Jim, who's just vibing, all the good vibes on this Friday, Harvey with the Titans radio coverage, and Mark, whose great organization helped raise $500,000 to help support women with children in need and fathers who need resources to be better fathers, which is excellent work.
I think that's the one.
I would agree. Well done by Mark. We appreciate your guys' participation as always, and we hope that you enjoy that concert as well. Always call us Friday at this time. We usually have great prizes in the nebulous prize bucket to give away, and it gives us a moment to be positive in the middle, well, I guess at the end of our week.
This is not necessarily Friday Fire related, but how about Nate Ament really sneaking this in like maybe 20 minutes before the beginning of the draft? He declared for the NBA draft. So we move on.
Are you sad? You seem sad.
It was so weird
because... Do you feel gaslit? They strung you along.
You've had a great offseason so far.
It has been. Tennessee just picked up another commit, Braden Liu from
He's been killing
Kennesaw
it
State.
in the portal.
7 visitors on campus, 7 commitments. They're batting 1,000 right now. And
what's that money look like?
Braden Liu's definitely making more money at Tennessee than he was at Kennesaw State, that's for sure. 6'9", lengthy, shot blocking, ball handling forward. Good pickup by Tennessee. But it's been so weird because at every turn, Tennessee coaches have said, no, he needs to go. Greg Polinsky a couple weeks ago
Barnes
was on the radio in Knoxville. Barnes earlier this week saying he is an NBA player. He needs to go to the draft. But every NBA draft insider kept telling us, well, hang on, there's a decision to be made here because his stock could be higher next year than it is now. Nate Ament is moving on. Congrats to him. 1 year at Tennessee and an Elite Eight run.
Yeah, Tennessee's portal season, Ross pays closer attention to this than most because he's a Duke basketball fan. I'm very happy with my portal class, my basketball
As you
team.
should be.
I'm very excited about that. It feels like a lot of movement in college basketball, a lot of late declarations. Not quite for the same reasons as Nate Ament, but it just felt like, I mean, A.J. Devonsa just kind of stringing us all along. Like, buddy, you're the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to the draft? Stop it.
He gone.
Did he ever do his big announcement thing?
No, I haven't seen a big announcement thing. No.
Oh, he did declare.
Okay.
He did declare.
So with that, as we continue our draft coverage, it is day 1 in the books with Carnell Tate and Keldrick Falk. We've got day 2 and rounds 2 and 3 up later this afternoon. It is worth talking about the most interesting picks and moves of round 1. In this NFL draft. There were a number of different movement. We expected a lot of movement, of course. That was well reported on. We didn't expect the movement necessarily where it happened. It ended up playing out later in the first round, and we'll dive into that here in just a second. But do we think it was just not sufficient value? I mean, we were obviously guessing. We don't know on what happened with Arizona at 3 because they did take that thing down to the wire right before Jeremiah Love was leaked and announced for the Cardinals. It was a shortened draft. I think we got in a little under 3 hours last night with the shortened draft clock, which was lovely.
Raiders took their sweet time, too, at the top.
What, are you bitter?
It's just every year, man.
It is annoying.
It's like, just hand it in, man. Come on.
How long have you been preparing for this that you didn't know?
They let like 6 minutes go off the clock.
It was we got out of there a little before midnight last night, but a nice 2 hour and I think about 45-minute draft was the total runtime with the shortened first round clock. I wonder if they just weren't getting sufficient value for 3, or if Arizona was kind of in a holding pattern, trying desperately to talk their owner out of, no, please God, let us do something here, as opposed to just sticking and picking and taking the running back with a roster looking the way that ours does.
Yeah, it may not be quite as bad a situation as Ashton Genty faced last year in Vegas.
It's not good.
But it's not good. So Jeremiah Love's going to have a lot to overcome. But they took the best player available at 3, no question.
So we will talk about the most interesting decisions teams made in round 1, because that now includes the Titans, especially with Carnell Tate taken at number 4 in ways that not a single person last night really, truly expected or predicted. The final hour on this Friday coming up next. Nothing worse than a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency. Most of the time, you don't know what it will cost, or if it'll get fixed correctly, or if someone is just trying to sell you something. That's when you call Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, because the price you're told is the price you'll actually pay. There's no hidden fees or surprises when you get your bill. Hiller has been in business for over 35 years and is family-owned and operated. Their techs are professional, experienced, and trustworthy. When they're on their way, you'll receive a photo of the tech and a link to track them in real time, so you don't waste time waiting around. 100% satisfaction guaranteed of happy you'll be, or the service is free. That's the Happy Hiller promise. So visit them online today at happyhiller.com.
About 1 minute away from the top of the hour. Good afternoon. Live from Titans House in Germantown, I'm Lucas Panzico. With the number 4 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Titans selected Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate, who caught 121 passes for 1,872 yards and 14 touchdowns over his 3 years with the Buckeyes. The Titans were not done before the night was over, trading back into the first round, sending picks 35, 66, and 101 to Buffalo in exchange for picks 31, 69, and 165. With that 31st pick, the Titans selected Auburn edge rusher Keldrick Falk. Other first-round notables, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson went 13 overall to the Rams. The Jets came away with 3 first-rounders, including David Bailey at 2 overall, and both Tennessee cornerbacks in Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood fell out of the first round. Day 2 of the NFL Draft gets underway at 6 p.m., second and third round. You can hear Titans radio coverage right here on The Zone. The Titans' next pick will be in the third round at 69 overall. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's final hour here for us on this Friday. Thanks for hanging out. Happy draft. Draft first round took place last night. 2 first-round picks in Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State, and Keldrick Falk, the defensive lineman from Auburn. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. We're happy to have you. You are welcome to chime in with your thoughts on the Titans' 2 first-round picks Lucas mentioned earlier. It is the first time that they've had 2 first-round selections since 2017. Corey Davis, Adoree Jackson, and that was the, That was the third J-Rob draft? No, second J-Rob draft. So it's been quite some time, but got a bit of an itch to trade up back into the first round at the end of the night. And as Mike Borgonzi put it earlier, if you see a player that you want, sometimes you just have to go up and get him. And it wasn't super costly. They did drop significantly tonight because they no longer have the 35th selection. They drafted 31st last night, giving up 35 overall. It dropped them back to the, mid-60s, low 60s?
69 will be their next pick, so they will not have a second-rounder. Obviously, they essentially used that on Keldrick Falk, so it will be a little while before the Titans have another pick. The mock that Matt Miller put out there has the Titans taking, he did a post-first-round mock for the second and third rounds where he has the Titans taking Jake Golday, the linebacker from Cincinnati, at 69.
Okay, and there are options there, certainly, with the Titans addressing wide receiver and defensive line in the first round. You could still use some help on the edge. There are options there. You could still use some starting offensive linemen, God knows, because if you're going to take care of Cam Ward, the best way to take care of Cam Ward is up front, first and foremost. Having another weapon is nice, but better protection is always a plus. And so we'll see how they go about addressing that as we work our way through rounds 2 and 3 this evening. But before we turn the page on yesterday and move forward to tonight, we should talk about the most interesting picks or moves from the first round of the NFL draft. And I feel like we have to start with Arizona and Jeremiah Love. I know we've touched on it several times. The feeling among Titans fans is what? Like, aw shucks, just Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors. They weren't there for you to take. So it's not like you can get upset about not taking them, right? But I do think it is the idea that they had so much time to get it in their heads to imagine a world with Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love in the same backfield, only to have Arizona kind of pull the plug out from under them at 3 overall the way that it happened last night.
And we'll never know if the Titans would have taken Jeremiah Love with the number 4 overall pick.
We do not know.
The biggest reason I think Titans fans wanted Jeremiah Love is because of what it can do for Cam Ward.
Yep.
So you still went out and got a position that has a lot more value to the quarterback than the position Jeremiah Love plays. If Carnell Tate can be as high caliber a player as Jeremiah Love, remains to be seen if their ceilings are different remains to be seen. But in the end, you still got a player that's going to come in and help your quarterback right out of the gates and doesn't have to be wide receiver 1 if Calvin Ridley can stay healthy this year.
Ooh, yeah, yet he doesn't have to be immediately, right? But if you draft a player 4 overall, it's fair to assume.
Oh, you need an impact from him. Absolutely.
Like, I need more than an impact. I need a blue chip caliber player.
Of course.
And so he will have an immediate impact. He is as well-rounded a wide receiver there was in the draft. We'll see what that means for somebody like Alec Iamaner, for example. Ideally, you would like to push Alec Iamaner further down the depth chart. Chimere Dike is an all-pro returner. He is not an all-pro wide receiver. So any additional upgrades that you can make to your skill position group are going to be welcome, especially with a lot more work to do in these next couple of rounds of the draft. But, yeah, I mean, I don't, Mike Borgonzi didn't want to put expectations on Carnell Tate last night. I think it's okay to have high expectations of a player drafted 4th overall.
Yeah, and every player is going to have their own developmental path. But, yes, when you step foot into a building and onto the field as the number 4 overall pick at wide receiver, did you say it was the Titans' highest drafted wide receiver?
Second in franchise history. They had a first – Kaharski looked it up last night. They had a first overall pick in 1965, whose name escapes me. He's a wide receiver and a flanker, whatever a flanker is.
But as the Tennessee Titans, it is the highest drafted receiver.
The last one was Corey, and he was 5.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is the highest draft pick in the Titans era spent on a wide receiver. Again, does he have to be Julio Jones or another player of that caliber taken with a top 5 pick? Ideally, you would like him to be excellent, but you understand that this is a different kind of a draft, and if they felt that there was the best player available, then we'll see how they put him in position to succeed. Of course, as a coaching staff, that matters the most here. Can I, before we go on, we'll talk more about the Titans picks here in just a second. You'll hear from Mike Borgonzi specifically on how they plan to deploy or how they envision deploying Carnell Tate. But I don't know that there was a crazier move to start, even though we had some noise about it. Then Arizona at 3. What was the second move in the draft? Trade, selection, player going where they went that caught your attention? Because Ty Simpson comes to mind, but there was a bunch of stuff last night.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything completely shocking. I mean, the Chiefs were really aggressive in their pursuit of Mansour Delane. I don't think a lot of people expected him to go at 6. How about the Jets coming away with 3 first-round draft picks?
God knows they need them.
They had a great night.
Well, yeah, you get 3 first-round picks. You get 2 more than most other teams. That is a pretty good night, right, when you get 3 first-round caliber guys.
Yeah, but when your roster looks like the Jets, I mean, it's just there's so much more there that has to be done. I don't know how Jets fans do it. I don't know how Raiders fans are miserable. I know it's been tough on Titans fans here in the last couple of years. I'm sure they're not thrilled with the last couple of 3 and 14s, obviously, but just
And we've seen the Jets, quote unquote, crush drafts before.
Yeah, man, I'm having such a hard time if I'm a Jets fan, like being sold on anything.
Well, it's so disheartening because when we say they've quote unquote crushed drafts before, like they actually have. Like in hindsight, those were great players.
Yeah,
right. They drafted Garrett Wilson and Quinnen Williams, and all these were great players. Yeah. It wasn't like just a night of, oh, they crushed it. It's years later we look back and say, all great picks.
Sauce.
And look at the results. So how do you get up for anything, man? It's like, yeah, even if these guys are good, it's the Jets, so stinky, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But they end up with David Bailey. They end up with Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. And
I like all the picks that they made last night. I'm like, oh, my God. They went Omar Cooper.
Yeah.
Omar Cooper. I'm like, no, please, God, don't get drafted by the Jets. I've got the quarterback going to the Raiders, God help him, and I've got the wide receiver going to the Jets, 2 of the most godforsaken franchises in pro football.
Yeah, poor Jets fans. But, so the Jets coming away with 3 first-round draft picks. I think the Cowboys quietly come away winners. Again, they had
Malachi Lawrence.
Did you see Nick Saban got caught on a hot mic saying it was a reach?
I didn't see it, but you told me about it, yes.
But, yeah, they take Lawrence, the edge out of UCF, and Caleb Downs. That is great value, to get a player like Caleb Downs outside of the top 10 who can come in and boss that secondary from day one. But, again, yes, the Cowboys and Jets had a good day because they had multiple first-round draft picks. I think any team that has more first-round picks than one probably ended up having a pretty solid day.
So I wonder, I mean, Saban, I don't know if he said anything close to that on the broadcast itself or if he was a little more gentle.
He was
in his analysis after the fact.
He said, "What a great pick."
Yeah.
No, he said
they're lying to you. They're all lying to you.
Nick, you said it was a reach 2 minutes ago.
Speaking of Nick Saban, funny moment with Ryan Day before the draft on the game day set.
I saw he was needling Saban a little bit.
Yeah, they asked him about Caleb Downs. He's like, when Caleb came to us, man, he was a mess. I mean, he was just an absolute disaster. I don't know what they were doing over there. So that was funny. Nick Saban also said Caleb Downs' mom made the best white chili that he ever ate. So the game day draft coverage, like,
what was
honestly,
it on? What was it on? ABC?
I think it's on ABC.
That's smart.
Highly entertaining.
Yeah, you put your best foot forward. I mean, they are better than the ESPN, and ESPN has plenty of quality people, obviously.
I would watch the game day with Nick Saban coverage over the ESPN with Mel Kiper coverage 100 times out of 100. But he said you could catch him on a hot mic saying this is a reach on the Malachi Lawrence pick. And then when they went to him for some live analysis, Saban said, actually, this guy was one of my sleepers for tomorrow. And the rest of the panel started laughing. And so, yes, Malachi Lawrence may be going earlier than people expected to Dallas.
Okay, the other just insane moment from last night that I didn't see in real time because we went the way that it works for us, for the audience. They draft a kid. We wait a couple of minutes. They track down the kid wherever the kid is. They put him on a Zoom call, and we interview him. Then we come back into the draft room. So we miss picks in between doing press conferences and Zoom calls, and then we get caught up. I didn't see the Makai Lemon situation take place.
What
situation? You didn't see this?
Crazy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's on the phone with Steelers GM Omar Khan.
Oh, wait, I did catch wind of this. Yeah, this is crazy.
He's on the phone with the Steelers general manager.
Yeah.
And on the video of him, the live shot into the draft room or whatever, he's on the phone saying, "Why is Philly calling me?" to Omar Khan. So they got mixed up last night with the Steelers, who were preparing to draft Makai Lemon at 21 overall, and the Eagles, who nobody would expect. Why would you expect the Eagles to do a deal with the Dallas Cowboys, two of the most hated divisional rivals in the sport? But the Eagles do a deal with the Cowboys. They jump up in front of Pittsburgh, who's already on the phone. You just talk about a Coach Mack keep your powder dry moment. How much egg on your face does Omar Khan have today?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Trying to explain to him, no, we're taking you. No, you're not, bud. I'm going to Philly. And I don't know who feels a certain type of way about that, Omar Khan or A.J. Brown, who's looking around being like, how many more wide receivers are you going to add before you trade me to New England?
Yeah, he's all but gone, it feels like, anyway. We haven't even talked about the Vrabel stuff yesterday.
Buddy, I tell you, every member of Titans media was sitting in the media room watching that Vrabel. I couldn't believe they live streamed it. I'll be honest.
The audio was rough.
The audio was bad. I mean, they weren't. I was shocked they live streamed it because, again, you're talking about a coach still not admitting to alleged infidelity or anything beyond that. In a way that is causing him to miss the draft. It doesn't become a sports story, like an actual sports story, until you have to miss a night of the draft for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just your personal business, and most people don't want to get into your marriage counseling and stuff like that.
But I would push back a little bit and say it is less an infidelity personal story and more a conflict of interest story. Like, to me,
it's all of it.
This is a conflict of interest story.
For us.
Overall. Like, for the NFL as a whole.
Yes.
NFL media as a whole. Yes. But, yes, that was not accomplished absolutely
it's
nothing.
A dumbass press conference.
It's just the similar version of what he did the other day.
We'll do it before polls. I don't want to waste time.
Did you see the Jordan Tyson moment?
I did not see the Jordan Tyson moment.
Very emotional when he was drafted by the Saints at
number 8
overall.
Wearing? Like, I know you give me hell about giving other people, he looks very unkempt.
He looked.
I know
he was wearing a suit. I don't know what you want from
understand.
him. Like,
at some point, we will get you suits that fit you too. But he could also use a suit that fits.
Like Buck's like he wasn't wearing a fur vest. Why was he not dressed like
that?
that?
What's the moment? What's wrong with Jordan Tyson?
He's emotional. He gets down on one knee and then he gets up. And you see this crazy...
Is he drooling?
Crazy, saliva stream come out.
No, who's that running back that had that giant teardrop a couple years ago for the Broncos? No Sean Moreno.
No Sean Moreno, yeah.
No Sean Moreno. That is no Sean Moreno levels
of... He gets up and he, exhales, and all of the snot and saliva comes shooting out in for plain sight.
That's foul.
Of course, this video is buffering, but
it doesn't matter. I saw the stream of snot.
it was
coming
such
out
a
of his face.
close-up of his face. There it is. It just
I don't need to see that again.
I'm still forgetting the player who goes, "Yes, sir," to Laura Rutledge, and then, "My bad, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am."
Yeah, I can't remember. I did see that take place. I was laughing listening to that. But yeah, it was it was your average NFL draft round one with the giant scandal of Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini as the lead-in, and then Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore's victim is in the middle of this, also doing an exclusive interview.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a hell of a news cycle.
It was
before the NFL draft actually got underway. So we will talk more about the Titans selections here, 615-737-1045. If you want to jump in, as I mentioned, you'll hear from Mike Borgonzi on how they plan to deploy the wide receiver that they selected at number 4 overall, coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Hattie B's is here, which makes today even better. Lucas has already had a hot, it's hot proper, right? It's Hattie B's Hot Chicken.
Doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be.
They have options. Good, they have options for people. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, you can do just that. So 2 first-round picks last night. You know this, of course. Day 2 of the draft is on tap. By the way, Robert Saleh, Mike Borgonzi, Carnell Tate, and Keldrick Falk are also going to be available at a press conference at 2 p.m. today. So I will be at the practice facility again for that, and then again for night 2. No second-round pick as a result of the Keldrick Falk trade, but they will still have options for them in the 3rd round. So let's talk about the players that they did select, and one of the players that they did select was Carnell Tate, as I mentioned. Mike Borgonzi was asked about the number of different positions within the offense that Carnell Tate can play, and this was the Titans GM's response.
I know it's early, but how much do you project him to be an X in this offense? And as an X, you're on the ball. How do you see him being able to play against press coverage?
I see he does a pretty good job at it. Some guys win versus press in different ways. With him, he's elusive and sudden off the line of scrimmage a lot. When we studied these guys, we were able to cut up all these plays off coverage, press coverage. And that was the one thing that really stood out, just his savviness to get off the line of scrimmage and his quickness.
So you figure him to be an X?
I think he can move all around, TD. He's played inside, outside. He's played X, he's played Z. I think we can move him all around.
So versatility he's a very smooth player, Carnell Tate. And again, the most well-rounded wide receiver in the draft class goes to the Titans. He's the 2nd best available weapon. So you get an option for Cam Ward before you, again, address your defensive line at the end of the 1st round. Carnell Tate, so what does this look like if we had to field the Titans offense today? This looks like Wan'Dale Robinson, Carnell Tate, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
If you ran out there in a 3 wide receiver set. So Chimere, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be any opportunities for Chimere DK. Again, I like the idea of making Alec Iamaner, a higher-end backup as opposed to somebody who you have to start on a regular basis as a role player. That's ideal. And again, Wan'Dale Robinson is a role player, right? He's a slot player. He's just a well-compensated slot player. And so now coming in here with the combination of wide receivers that they have, all of them are different. So at least they have a number of different options. If they can play, they can make, Tate a big slot for a couple of snaps here. If they have certain packages that take advantage of Ridley's speed on the outside there, it's a number of different versatile options for Brian Dable to come in here and at least give Cam Ward a couple of different things that he can work with.
Yeah, when you think about if the Titans were to hit the field this week, what they would have at their disposal, the most glaring holes offensively, would probably be the interior of the offensive line, right? The uncertainty at center and at right guard, right? I don't know if there's anything else that really comes close to matching that in terms of concern at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm terrified for the quarterback because of what the offensive line situation looks like. They have one good player on the offensive line. They have Peter Skoronski.
Right.
The rest is just whatever.
Yeah, Dan Morris.
Maybe J.C. Latham is a right tackle. Maybe he's not. We're on year 3. We're trying to figure out where they're going to play him. Dan Moore is
serviceable.
Dan Moore is there. Dan Moore is a left tackle who exists and plays left tackle. He is not Dennis Daly or Andre Dillard, so he is better than Titans left tackles of recent memory.
So how do we rank remaining needs after the Titans addressed wide receiver and edge on day 1?
Interior offensive line is all the way at the top.
I agree.
To me. All the way at the top. I told you my dream scenario would have been for them to trade out of 4 if they could have done a deal with the Cowboys. Now, unrealistically, to get 12 and 20, but if in a perfect world, right, if all things were allowed to happen in this situation, I would have given up 4 for 12 and 20. I would have taken that Penn State guard that Roberts Ravens drafted,
Vega Ione,
who I'm sure he's pleased with, especially with their renewed need to run the football. in that offense and, to be a downhill, aggressive, physical Ravens attack. But he goes to Baltimore at 14, and then I would have liked a wide receiver later. They go with a wide receiver early, and they go with a defensive lineman later. Interior offensive line remains the biggest need. Now, I'm not saying overdraft for the sake of this because, again, now you're just sitting out the second round. As of today, they could move. They could maneuver back in. They obviously maneuvered back in last night. Whether you agree with the value of trading up in this specific draft, I know Zach Lyons is going to have some thoughts on that a little later on this afternoon, specific to Keldrick Volk. He is giving me a thumbs down. That's called a spoiler. But I am looking at the Titans and still, after one day of the NFL draft, fearing for the life of the quarterback.
Yeah, so the Titans did not lose any draft picks with that trade with Buffalo. They had some move back, right? Like they didn't.
Their biggest drop was a drop of
64.
35 to 69, right?
101 to 165.
Okay.
Yeah. So remaining, the Titans have pick 69, 142, 144, 184, 194, and 225. That is a third, 2 5s, 2 6s, and a 7th. So no second and no fourth. Interior offensive line, absolutely at the top of the list. Is cornerback coming in there at second?
Yeah. I mean, listen, they have added corners in the offseason. Coach Mack's always forever saying is you can never have enough corners and pass rushers. Who do you feel best about one of these corners versus the other? Alontae Taylor has played a lot of football, and he's not great. He's not bad by any stretch of imagination. He's a starting caliber NFL corner.
Yep.
Cordell Flott is somebody, at least by the reporting of New York media, was viewed as an ascending player in the Giants defense. Came to the Giants where he could return to or to come to Tennessee. He ultimately chose to come to Tennessee. I don't know if Cordell Flott will indeed be an ascending player here, but he is also a starting caliber corner. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing special.
And that's about it, right? I mean, Marcus Harris is a 6th-round, second-year player that...
Marcus Harris and this other dude from the Chiefs that they added don't really count to me. If you got a man go down, can you play a couple of games here and there? Can you play a couple of snaps?
What do you mean they don't really count? Like, they're there. They are. That is your cornerback depth.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
not a lot of teams have great cornerback depth, but that is an area that the Titans are an injury away from being in a really bad spot.
Sure.
So,
you could say that about any position on the roster with as thin as they are everywhere.
Yeah, and to continue to
maybe not wide receiver now. Maybe
sure.
You feel okay about wide receiver.
To continue to, I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted another edge rusher at some point in this draft. If they drafted a linebacker, if they drafted a safety at some point. Like we mentioned, Matt Miller in his updated mock draft has the Titans taking Jake Golday at 69 overall, the linebacker out of Cincinnati. So a lot of moving parts. Do we think right now, the Titans move around once again?
Oh, just as a guess, I'd say that it gets tempting at the back half of the second round. I mean, if you see a player that you want and you have not lost draft capital, you still have a number of picks that you can use to move around here. You also still do have the trade chip of Will Levis for whatever that's worth. I don't know that would be involved in getting back into the second round, for example, but I would venture a guess it's more likely that they would sneak back up in.
I'm very interested in the top of the second round, even though the Titans aren't involved, to see what happens with if any of this Carson Beck stuff that randomly popped up yesterday comes to fruition in the second round. Cardinals still need a quarterback, so do they swing for...
Very disrespectful of you.
To who?
To the two quarterbacks that they have.
Jacoby Brissett and Gardner
Yes,
Minshew?
are they real people, or did you just do what I did to the Titans quarterback room, where you consider them subhuman, you consider them second-class citizens?
No, they count, but
apparently not.
They need a quarterback. So do they reach for a Carson Beck, a Drew Aller?
No, you don't. Don't a ridiculous thing to say. Do you reach for Carson Beck
at 34 overall?
I hope they do. I hate them. I hate the Cardinals now.
Why?
Because they took Jeremiah Love.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Matt Miller has the Cardinals selecting Carson Beck, 34 overall, later
today.
Bring it
on, baby.
So
you're rooting against the Cardinals. Nobody dislikes the Cardinals.
I wish ill will on their whole franchise.
Where does Jermon McCoy fall to? How how long is the free fall for Jermod McCoy, and what does that mean? It's kind of pushing Colton Hood down a little bit as well.
So who's the last corner, like good corner, that fell because of medical issues?
Will Johnson. I mean,
second round.
He's coming off his rookie year and was drafted in the second round.
Yeah. And a different kind of issue, if I remember correctly, because we're talking about something called a bone plug here that Jermod McCoy had to get taken care of, and something that, according to multiple reports, again, we don't have access to his medicals, but according to multiple reports, his knee condition is considered degenerative. Does that make him a one-contract player in the eyes of some teams? Some teams will have different medical evaluations than others. You'll have some team doctors who are a little more, for lack of a better term, lax than others on what they'll green light and what they won't.
Yeah. So best available, the safety out of Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. You've got Denzel Boston still on the board, the receiver out of Washington. Matt Miller has him landing in Buffalo at 35, the pick the Bills got from the Titans. Just from a fan perspective, I'm still very interested in the rest of this quarterback class and how it all shakes out for Aller and Nussmeier and Beck.
Yeah, I mean, because we really don't have any idea. If Beck went in the second round, you might say, okay, that's a reach, but you don't really know, right? I mean, we have no idea what these guys, especially the one like Carson Beck, has been in college football for so long. Because is he just what he's going to be? And again, they can grow and develop. None of them are, quote-unquote, finished products as NFL prospects before they take a snap, before they go through an NFL meeting, whatever. But is Carson Beck as a player with a ceiling, is he there? Probably. On what he has to offer you, he's not growing anymore. He's not. I don't know what his mental acuity or his football acumen is considered to be based on the scouting reports and the combine interviews and the 30 visits that he may have done. But there's just nothing about, like, he's not an ascending property. He's just kind of Carson Beck.
Yeah, like if you're a Cardinals fan, I wonder how Cardinals fans feel today. Because Jeremiah Love is a fun player. He's an exciting player.
How many Cardinals fans do you know?
I knew one in college because that was from Arizona.
It's a dying breed.
I know another one that is also from Arizona. I'm racking my brain.
Well, they're coming back now because they drafted your running back. See?
I can't stand them. I can't. If DeMercado just finishes through the end zone instead of just fumbling with L'Jarius Sneed, showing the most effort he ever showed in a Titans uniform, running after him, that's our pick. But it's fine. I'm ready for Carnell. I'm happy that he's here.
You don't seem happy.
No, he's a great wide receiver.
Well, then you're lying because you told me when you sat down you were disappointed.
Yeah, because I think Love's a better player. Can I not have both?
No.
You can have both, Ross.
My God, I don't know how you do it every day, Lucas, this guy.
You just tune him out. Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett in the building, and ex-quarterback that they draft this weekend. That's your quarterback room, right? Like, there's no more Ty Simpson on the board for Arizona. Oh, I don't know, man. It's not in – and you're in the hardest position to be in terms of your division.
No, your division. I mean, it's good if you just want to lose because they're going to get your ass kicked.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey,
by the other three teams in that division.
If you're going to do a trade deal with any one team, Cardinals feel like a good option. They're going to have a pretty high draft pick next year.
They might kill Jeremiah. They really might. He might get ran into the ground.
Will he have? Okay. What did
Ashton Genty had 1,000, didn't he? Or he just shy?
Just shy. He had 975.
975. Will he go over, under? He'll go over. He'll go over 975. That Raiders offensive line is the worst offensive line unit I've ever seen.
The Cardinals also have a ton of running backs, and they may not run their number 4 overall pick into the ground in his rookie year. I bet he goes under.
No.
He's sharing a backfield with Tyler Algier, who got paid.
What are they going to do? They're going to throw the ball all over the place? You just said you don't consider their quarterbacks to be real human beings.
Ashton Genty was the only dude in that room for the Raiders.
Sure.
Like, the Cardinals, that's the whole talking point of the Cardinals. They have all the running backs. How stupid would it be to draft a running back 4 and then not use that opportunity to not 3, excuse me. Not use that opportunity to, try to be smart about it with the tread on the tires. Like, you pay Tyler Algier starting running back money. You have a lot of depth at that position, and now you have a high ceiling player coming in Jeremiah Love. I bet he goes under 975 his rookie year.
I'm going to take over because, again, that Raiders team is the worst team I may have seen in the last couple of years, and the Titans have won 3 games the last 2 years. That's saying something. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. RJ is in Phoenix. What up?
What's going on, fellas, man? I'm mad about Jeremiah Love, too, man. Darren Cardinals came and took him from us. I'm mad.
But you're in Phoenix.
Everybody in my work, they talk radio out here, the local news out here. They had everybody thinking the Cardinals was going to trade back and take Ty Simpson. It was like somebody wrote it in the Bible. Like, they just knew. Like, people out here wasn't even interested in the first round of the draft because they were going to move back and take Ty Simpson. They are pissed.
Well, appreciate the call, RJ. Always good to hear from you. It's interesting, right? Because, like, I was out at owners' meetings, and I was just curious, so I was talking to a number of different people with who cover the Cardinals, and the sense was offensive line or edge. Like, that was the direction that they were going to go. That was the thing that everybody had locked in or penciled in for Arizona, and then days before, not even a week before, you start to hear those rumblings of Todd McShay and Peter Schrager and other people connected in the know in the draft industry saying, no. There's a very strong voice in the room in Arizona. Nobody's saying who that is or whether that's ownership or if it's somewhere between ownership and coach and GM or whatever. Again, some of these organizational charts are pretty convoluted. And, I mean, it took several years for them to iron out all the kinks of who was actually calling the shots or who had final roster say, who deserved to have it, all these different things. So somebody swoops in week of and said, no. I'm telling you, we're taking this kid, okay? Our GM wants to trade back desperately, but we are not going to abide by that. And I'm sure there was some level of conversation in the room because, again, they took that draft clock all the way down damn near to zeros before the pick was submitted, before it was announced that they were taking Jeremiah Love. Pretty crazy. Rick is in Franklin up next. We got Rick.
Yeah, guys. Buck, I think, was it yesterday that you were talking about the franchise there, the Cardinals franchise, and going into football abyss? Or I don't know what words you used, but they were hilarious.
Yeah, literally in the desert. I mean, they're stranded in the desert.
Yeah. And so anyway, God, I feel so sorry for that kid because he's so special, and I just wanted him to go, if not for us, to a team that's sort of upwardly mobile at least. And for him to be stuck there and with that quarterback room, oh, my Lord. But on the other hand, for the Titans, it sort of clears up the mystery about what you're going to do with Pollard and Tajay because there's no question now that they feel satisfied with the running game that they have, and we'll build all around everything else. So, okay for us. I'm not too disappointed, but I feel sorry for Jeremiah, So that's it.
Appreciate the call, Rick. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? We talked about the Jets have had good drafts, for example, and the Jets have had good players that they've added. And the Jets have won nothing with those good players because the Jets are incompetent and poorly run. You can say that about a great many franchises. Bad franchises stay bad because of bad ownership decisions. And there has been no reporting specifically if Arizona's ownership was the one to step in and say, no, we're taking this player. I heard this is the best player. Give me the best player. I don't care what the people who I've employed are telling me, which is specifically what it is their job to do and accomplish, and give me all this great research and reporting back on the players that we're getting ready to add up for our franchise. No, give me the running back because I saw him on TV, and that's who Mel Kiper said I should take, or whatever it ended up being, right? That's just speculation, although it's fair to speculate in that direction. I don't know how it's going to go for Jeremiah Love. I just know that any team picking that high in the draft, it's always going to be tough for those players to succeed. We talked about it with Cam last year. If the percentage chance that a first-round quarterback, not just a number one overall quarterback, but a first-round quarterback even starts a playoff game for the team that drafted him is significantly less than 50%. So it's a crapshoot, especially drafting that high. Last call for phone calls if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll wrap up the show on this Friday. Get on with the rest of the draft coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world, obviously. Very happy to see our friends at Hattie B's out here today. We've got day 2 of the draft on tap tonight. Titans don't have a second-round pick as a result of the trade up for Keldrick Falk. Zach Lyons looking very distraught about it. I think it's because he's righteously hungover, but also because he hated the trade up last night. Again, Blaine and Zach, 1 to 3. You can hear his thoughts on the matter. Robert Saleh and the 2 draft picks will be available in a press conference setting with us here in a little more than an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm going to scurry back over to the practice facility and take part in that press conference and see what they have to say. They were not too expansive last night in their post-draft Zooms, but you understand they were very excited. I'm sure a little nervous. A lot of things going on, a lot of family to get to, post-draft parties to have, and things. So, and I know they're both going to be on with 3HL a little later this afternoon, so you can hear both draft picks there, too. We have a last opportunity for phone calls here, 615-737-1045. Jackson is up next.
Hey, how you doing, Buck?
Good.
Hey, I'm excited for Carnell Tate and Keldrick Falk. I want to say I'm still bad for that one guy who was walking around Nissan Stadium with the Jeremiah Love jersey after Carnell Tate got picked. I hope he gets his money back after he did that.
I did see that. I think Ross sent me that picture yesterday. I do not feel bad for that person. Don't do dumb things. Like you bought a pre-made draft jersey for a pick that's not on your roster and wore it to a draft party in public. Because what? On the slight percentage chance that they actually do the thing that was going to be tough for them to do, you get to be the one guy who's already got his Love jersey that's probably poorly made and looked like it was taped on or pasted on. No, I don't feel bad for that person. I hope they don't get their money back. It's a ridiculous thing to do. Terrible job.
Some are saying it's his fault. Some are, and I ain't saying who. It's not me.
It's me.
Some people are saying, yeah.
It's me. I'm telling that person. That's a dumb thing to do. Don't do that again.
Seconded.
Ross, the draft ahead tonight with a number of different needs. We mentioned the offensive line, the interior offensive line needs that the Titans do have here, and the potential to trade back up into the second round. I just don't know, looking at the teams who did deals yesterday, and of course it gets more difficult to predict the trades as we move forward. I just don't know at this point, given what's off the board. We talked about 6 wide receivers coming off the board, a number of the different edge defenders, and the corner and Mansour Delane coming off the board. I'd be curious to see how this thing starts out with San Francisco at the top of the round tonight. San Francisco, Arizona, and Buffalo with the first 3 picks. Obviously, that third pick in the second round would have belonged to the Titans had they not traded up for Keldrick Falk.
You feel like Denzel Boston's going to go pretty high. I think Buffalo was rumored at that pick. I could see the Cardinals doing it too.
He's such a Bills wide receiver too, especially at that size. Yeah, I mean, Arizona could use a complimentary player. Corey Curtis texted me the other day and was talking about how Michael Wilson for the Cardinals, who I did not really know, I was not familiar with his game, kind of broke out in the second half of last season. I can't act like I was watching many Cardinals games after I suffered through that Titans-Cardinals game earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's underrated dude, but like obviously they could still use another body in there. I just think, I mean, if Denzel Boston finds a way to get down to what, that's the Chiefs who have the 43rd pick or 40th pick. If he gets down to Kansas City, man, you can forget about that one. I think he'll be one of the first guys taken off the board.
Yeah, I like to just kind of put a bow on it. I'm not down on the Tate pick by any stretch of the imagination. Like, they do need weapons. He was the best available weapon. So they took him for Cam Ward. It's just a matter to me of, okay, are you doing this because it's the safest possible thing? Which, by the way, they have been horrendous in the draft in the couple of years leading up to this. It's okay to do the safest possible thing, especially for an organization that's made a lot of firings here in the last couple of years. Like, if you think you can get back to baseline functional, and this is a way to do it, and that's a starting caliber player, I'm completely good with that. But it's okay to talk about the idea of opportunity cost. The most recent example of that was Tavondre Sweat. They passed on a trade offer from the Los Angeles Rams, who ended up doing a deal with the Carolina Panthers at the very next pick, that ended up becoming Braden Fisk because L.A. was interested in coming up and getting Braden Fisk. So Titans pass. They feel confident in their research and their homework on T'Vondre Sweat. They take T'Vondre Sweat where they took him, 38th overall, if I'm not mistaken. And a number of different players come off the board. But you took the 38th overall pick on a guy that was a run-stuffing, big-body nose tackle, and maybe he's athletic enough to give you something else. But the opportunity cost was lost there and almost immediately talked about because Sweat had red flags. He was off some teams' boards entirely, and Ray Carthon obviously didn't last long enough to see how that might play out or to continue to create an environment that they thought would best help Sweat develop along because the coaching staff, well, Rand was fired, then the coaching staff was fired. And so safe is okay if you're in a situation like the Titans. It's certainly better to play it safe than take huge risks where you don't know how solid the ground is under you right now. I don't remember if I did poll questions today. I don't think I did.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if you didn't.
I did not do poll questions today.
You are the one that does them all the time.
Well, now I am. Now you know that I am because they never get done.
Yeah, I don't see any poll questions. But I think, obviously we know linebacker is still a big need. And if Golday did fall down to the Titans in the third round, that would be awesome.
Jacob Rodriguez,
yeah.
it's probably a little late for him.
There's been a lot of rumors for him going in the second round, Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But there's still guys out here at positions of need, whether it be like a potential starter or a depth piece for the Titans that they can find. You also have 3 fifth-round picks. So if I'm looking at maybe a potential trade-up, it might not be tonight, but maybe they trade 2 of those fifths to get into the fourth, again, potentially, or whatever may have you. But I think you'd have to give up maybe that third-round pick and a couple fifths to get into the second if you wanted to do that, which you got to be very convicted on the player if you're going to make that move.
The situation that Titans fans come out of feeling the best about, given that they don't have a second-round pick now and will have to wait until 69 overall to select their next player, should they stick and things hold kind of where they are, there's always the opportunity to move. But the best-case scenario for the Titans fan in night 2 feels like, okay, depending on what's available, what becomes best available at that 69th overall pick, that feels a little, again, mock draft simulators are what they are. Teams have these guys on their boards differently than we will externally. Logan Jones, the Iowa center, one of these interior starting offensive linemen. I think Schlottman is going to be their plan to start at center, regardless of if they bring in somebody, a rookie at center or not, but they still are likely going to have to start an interior rookie lineman. How many other players are available on the board by the time we get down to them if they continue to stick at their pick? I don't know how you come out of day 2 without an offensive lineman feeling good.
It would concern me for sure. I mean, it would.
What is your ideal scenario for tonight?
Yeah, interior of the offensive line to be addressed, which is not how they're going to operate, right? Just through that lens of one need specifically. It's about their board and how it shakes out.
Kind of feels like they did that with wide receiver, no?
Well, again, I guess you just don't really listen when Greg Cosell talks. We don't know what these boards look like. We have no idea. There was no buzz about the Titans taking Carnell Tate at 4, right? Cardinals loving Love at 3 was all the way out there. Tate at 4 was not out there. So we have no idea what that necessarily looks like, how they're stacking these players. So you can say that they are reaching in any given spot because that is your opinion of the board. But we have no clue what their opinion of the board is. So to say that they reached would be to say that based on your opinion. To say that they reached based on their board would just be a lot because we have no idea what their board looks like.
I didn't say they reached.
I think in the grid it literally
you're a little
says,
defensive. It's okay, buddy. I'm happy you got a wide receiver.
It says Carnell Tate a reach in the 1220 segment.
And we all know.
We didn't do that. I didn't do that, though.
You literally
stepped away because you were late.
We all know who put that.
Did you apologize for being to BJ Callahan? I did forget that you had somewhere to go.
I hopped in there. We got it done.
Okay, very good.
So do y'all think they trade in the second round tonight or no? They just let it rock out.
I'm going to say no. I don't think they trade up again.
Such a long time for a team with so many needs to just sit there. Even if they trade, what's the top pick in the third round by number? So yeah, I mean, if they traded back up into the top,
but it's not that long, right? Because in a normal circumstance, they would pick at 39 or 35 and then 66. They just changed it to 31 and 69. Like, it's a difference of a few picks.
It's just the perception when you don't see your team's logo in that
right,
round.
like, that's all it is. Like, they literally just moved up 4 spots. So, like, yeah, it feels like it because there's 24 hours in between the first and second round.
That's going to do it for us today. Enjoy round 2 and 3 of the NFL Draft. I'll be over at the facility here for the Robert Saleh press conference with the 2 first-round picks here in just a second. Blaine and Zach are going to hold it down here, and 3HL on after that. They have both first-round picks on their show. We'll have reaction. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll talk about it all on Monday. We'll see you then.